Gu la la la. Marine is really lucky to have trained such a new person after the three monsters of Marine. Whitebeard looked around and looked at the carefree expressions of everyone on the boat. He couldn't help but feel a little worried. In recent years, he had felt that his physical condition had declined slightly. After his death, he wondered if Marco and the others could continue to be so relaxed. He will grow old after all. Whitebeard has actually considered training the next successor of the Whitebeard Pirates. But Marco has a lazy temper and is not very persistent in the pursuit of strength. It is really a bit wrong to support the Whitebeard Pirates after his death. Dad. Marco saw Whitebeard suddenly become silent, and a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. Gu la la la. Okay, let's have a party, Dad. New World, G5 Base. The vast school grounds were filled with Marines taking turns to take turns. Standing among the dense wall of people were Garp and Atlas. Ever since he saw Atlas's flying finger pistol explosion last time, he has been obsessed with it. He was sure that Atlas was definitely not the demon fruit power, so he pestered Atlas to compete with him every day. Atlas in desperation. C was pulled down to the school field by Garp. Hey, who do you think will win between Vice Admiral Garp and Atlas Commodore? Aren't you talking nonsense? Vice Admiral Garp is a Marine hero, and Roger was captured by Vice Admiral Garp. But Atlas Commodore is really powerful. He was able to defeat Josie from the Whitebeard Pirates at such a young age. As our Marines target this time the Whitebeard Pirates? Or the Big Mom Pirates? It seems that we have been fighting Whitebeard frequently in recent months. I don't know, but this time most of the headquarters combat power has been deployed in the New World. It is estimated that a war will start soon. The crowd of Marines who were watching the excitement gradually shifted the topic from the competition in front of them to the situation in the New World. Naturally, they did not know Marine's true purpose. They just thought that Marine was going to attack the New World's dominant pirate group like the Whitebeard Pirates. Ha 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 ha, Atlas, let me see your special finger pistol. On the school field, Garp waved a pair of iron fists and rushed over. Iron body boxing armed. The blood in Atlas's whole body flows faster, and at the same time, the weapon color covers the fist and hardens it. The mysterious black and red hockey makes the fist full of momentum. Boom! A strong collision sounded, and cracks were visible to the naked eye on the originally intact ground. Even though the two of them deliberately suppressed their own strength, the violent power still caused some damage to the surface. It seems that your strength and hockey have been greatly improved. Garp was a little excited. He had always had a high regard for pure physical arts geniuses like Atlas. For people from the old era, fruits and other things were foreign objects. Only one's own strength is the real strength. Of course, they will not reject fruits. After all, fruits are the secret treasures of the sea that can change a person's achievements. Not everyone has the monster-like physical talent of Atlas. People have to grow up. Old man Garp. Atlas smiled somewhat complacently, and his arm suddenly swelled, with black and red hockey directly covering the entire arm. Iron body boxing technique martial god arm broken. Countless fist shadows instantly covered Garp, and the extremely dense impact almost made people breathless. Ha ha ha, good time. Garp also fought back with an iron fist, without dodge, and forcefully caught all of Atlas's fists one by one. When Atlas' old strength was gone and new strength had not yet emerged, Garp lunged forward and hit Atlas on the chest with an iron fist. However, Atlas was well prepared and covered his chest with his weapon color in time, but he was still knocked several dozen meters away by Garp's fist. Atlas's armed colors are now terrifying in terms of both quality and quantity. However, if the armed colors are covered all over the body, the defensive power of the armed colors will still be dispersed. Partial arming is still the most cost-effective. Ha ha ha, let me see your strange ability. Garp didn't wait for Atlas to rest for a moment, and directly used Shao to bully him with an iron fist. Ah la la, fly finger pistol blast. The terrifying bursting flames rushed straight towards the advancing Garp, but Garp actually did not make any dodge movements. The color of his weapons flowed on his body, and an unshakable aura emanated from his body. Boom! A violent explosion sounded, and Garp slowly walked out of the fire and dust. The clothes on his body had long become strips of cloth hanging on his body. His original black hair was also slightly curly. He looked very embarrassed, but he was not there. Truss was injured by the blast. It can only be said that Atlas's ability to use Dragon Talisman is limited now, and he is still a little weak against a top powerhouse like Garp. After all, Garp's armed color attainments are basically the top level in the world. What a great ability, kid! Feel my will to love. Garp laughed ferociously and rushed forward again. His iron fists were danced like wildfire, and the terrifying sound of breaking through the air made Atlas's face hurt. Ah! A scream resounded through the sky. Atlas rubbed his cheeks helplessly, and used the ability of the horse charm to quickly eliminate all the large and small bruises. Old Garp, are you taking revenge on me for breaking your clothes? Atlas muttered with some dissatisfaction. Ha ha ha. How could it be possible? I just want you to feel my love and will. After all, you are the owner of Conqueror's Haki. Garp looked at Atlas's cheek, which was intact as before, and was a little surprised. This kid's recovery ability was much stronger than the last time he saw it. Speaking of Conquerors, I'm still confused about how to use it. Atlas scratched his head in distress. Since the last time he awakened Conqueror's Haki under Whitebeard's stimulation, although he has secretly released it several times, he can barely specify the release now. As for how to do physical damage, he can't do it yet, let alone Conqueror's entanglement skills. Ha ha ha, let Sengoku teach you later. After all, I don't have Conquerors, Garp said with a heartless smile. Vice Admiral Garp. Vice Admiral Garp has something to discuss with you, and Atlas Commodore. At this moment, a messenger hurried over and interrupted the old man and the young man who were talking. Xiaohei? Does she have anything to do with me? Is Whitebeard getting restless again? Garp muttered a little strangely, but still walked to Vice Admiral's staff office without any hesitation, and Atlas quickly followed. Boom. Xiaohei. What do you want from me? Garp walked to the door of the staff office, pushed the door open, and shouted. He and Vice Admiral he had been comrades in arms since they were young. They were very familiar with each other, so naturally they would not care about such trivial matters as knocking on the door. Moreover, Garp was not the kind of character who would knock on the door honestly. Sit down first. Crane Vice Admiral glanced at the careless Garp indifferently, and continued, how did you end up like this? Ah, I just gave Atlas a little instruction. I'm too lazy to change my clothes. Garp didn't care, and even touched his nose with an indifferent expression. Atlas, who was following behind, couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed when he heard this. He was the one who broke Garp's clothes. Hi, brother Atlas, we meet again. Suddenly, just as Atlas walked out from behind Garp's tall figure, a clear and sweet voice greeted him. Guion Rear Admiral. Atlas was in a daze. He didn't expect Guion to be dispatched to the New World so quickly. It seemed that a full-scale war in the New World was about to break out. Little Guion, do you know each other? Crane Vice Admiral moved his gaze to Guion aside and asked curiously. As Guion's sister, he is very concerned about her life events, but isn't Atlas a little young? I worked as a swordsmanship instructor in the headquarters recruitment camp for a while, and I happened to meet Atlas. He left a deep impression on me, Guion replied with a smile. Ha ha ha, since we know each other, no further introduction is needed. I called you here this time mainly for two things. Sengoku called and made some adjustments to the deployment of New World. In a while, Jiaji and Kuzan will also come, and the pace of the war will also accelerate. So we need to prepare early. Also, keep an eye on the recent movements of Whitebeard, Big Mom and the 100 Beasts, and be ready for war at any time. As for the so-called Pirate Alliance, leave them alone and try to preserve their strength. Whole. Crane Vice Admiral casually picked up the steaming teacup on the table, took a sip and continued, our actions against the Whitebeard pirates in the past few months have made them mistakenly think that we are determined to eradicate the Whitebeard pirates. These guys are ready to make a move. Ah, I know. Garp's expression gradually became serious. Although he usually looks carefree, he has always been able to handle important matters clearly. If this operation was caused by him, Marine if he suffered a loss, he would also be sorry for the justice behind him. What's the second thing? Garp asked his question at the right time. Atlas was also immediately attracted by Garp's question, and called him and Garp to the office. The first thing was to ask Garp, so the second thing should be related to him. That's it. King Riku of Dressrosa and our Marine have asked for help. Asking for help? It stands to reason that Dressrosa's military strength should not be afraid of the harassment of ordinary pirates, right? Garp was a little confused. As a country that can gain a foothold in the New World, Dressrosa's standing army strength is not too weak. According to King Riku's request for help, it seems that the leaders of the Big Mom pirates want Dressrosa to be their dessert processing place, specifically to provide sweets for Big Mom. After all, Dressrosa is a place surrounded by food and music. As for it's unclear which cadre it is. Crane Vice Admiral turned to Atlas and said, "So I want Atlas to go to Dressrosa to see the situation. After all, Dressrosa is also a member of the world government, and we Marine have an obligation to help them resist the pirate invasion. Moreover, Marine cannot allow the Big Mom pirates to expand their territory wantonly." "Ah, then leave it to me. I've heard of Dressrosa's name a long time ago, so just think of it as a trip to relax." Atlas smiled slightly and didn't care. Except for Katakuri, who was a little troublesome to him in the current Big Mom pirates, he didn't pay much attention to the other cadres. As for Big Mom herself, Atlas estimates that she is still busy giving birth. It can be said that before the age of 60, Charlotte Linlin was either giving birth to a child or on the way to have a child. Her current strength seems to have grown naturally. Yes, it can be said that she is the most talented person currently known in the pirate world. Oh, by the way, also, I want Guillaume to follow you to Dressrosa. Anyway, there shouldn't be any large-scale wars recently. It can be just in case if you encounter troublesome people. New World, Toto Land Kingdom, off the coast of Toto Island. This is a quiet and peaceful sea, but it is filled with a sense of weirdness and absurdity. There is a sweet smell in the air. The buildings on the island also look like weird food. They look like they are straight out of a fairy tale, from a man with golden orange hair, to be precise, it gradients from orange to red from bottom to top, and his hairstyle is in the shape of a three-blade flame, standing at the port of Toast Island. His outfit looks very strange. He has no clothes on his upper body, exposing his tendons. He has a yellow cloak on his back and a pair of gloves on his hands. He is all monotonous orange, even his shoes and socks, also the same color. The man is Charlotte Linlin's fourth son, Charlotte Owen, who is a triplet with Katakuri and Daifuku. It must be said here that the aunt's fertility is really strong, and most of the babies born are twins or triplets. Twins. Owen's goal this time was Dressrosa. He heard that the desserts there were also very famous, so he decided to take over Dressrosa directly to celebrate the upcoming birth of his younger brother or sister, and to expand the family's territory. As the younger son of Big Mom, Owen attaches great importance to family and family ties, and he also loves and protects his younger brothers and sisters, but the prerequisite is that he is loyal to the younger brothers and sisters of the family. Although the Big Mom pirates are one of the overlords of the New World is not entirely the territory of the pirates. In addition to the base occupied by Marine, some world government-affiliated and non-franchised countries also occupy some territories. Of course, unless the countries that are not part of the world government are powerful, such as the giant kingdom Elbaf, the rest will simply not be able to survive in the New World unless they take shelter under the banner of a big pirate like them. New World, G5 Base Port. Atlas and Guillaume walked to the dock talking and laughing. There was a Marine-style warship parked quietly at the port. Neither Guillaume nor Atlas had their own special warships here, so the two of them had no objections to it. Soon, the two of them boarded the warship one after another and embarked on the journey to Dressrosa. Atlas Commodore, Guillaume Rear Admiral. As soon as they boarded the warship, countless Marines swarmed up, then stood still and saluted, with solemn expressions on their faces and reverence in their eyes. They were the 500 Marine soldiers selected by Crane Vice Admiral from the G5 base. They were all Marines. He is an elite in the world and has witnessed Atlas's powerful strength many times in battles with the Whitebeard pirates. At the same time, many people were saved by Atlas intentionally or unintentionally during the battle, so they respected Atlas in their hearts. However, the highest officer on this warship is Guillaume. Although Guillaume has not yet reached the strength of Alternate Admiral Momosagi, his military rank is one level higher than Atlas after all, and his qualifications are much higher than him. Atlas doesn't care either. He doesn't care who is the superior. Momosagi won't tell him what to do anyway. He still has a high degree of freedom. Guillaume looked around, nodded slightly, then looked at the sea in the distance, and a cold voice came out. Has the adjutant arrived? Count the personnel and notify the helmsman to prepare for sailing. Reporting to the commander, Adjutant Borden, Marine number 264,998,742. The position is Colonel Marine. Soon, a tall officer wearing a standard Marine hat walked out of the crowd and reported loudly. Well, let's do a head count and then set sail. Target, Dressrosa. Guillaume waved his hand, gave the order, and then turned around and left with Atlas. Yes, sir. A sonorous and powerful response came from behind. It has to be said that the overall quality of Marine who has been stationed in New World for a long time is indeed better than that of Paradise and Sahai. Not to mention that New World has a harsher environment and climate than Paradise. Another knew there are countless strong men in the world who can be said to be like Crucian carp crossing the river. Having fought against all kinds of powerful pirates for a long time, being able to survive to this day is undoubtedly an elite existence in the Marines. New World, Dressrosa. King's Heights, where Dressrosa's royal palace is located, is the highest point of the entire kingdom, symbolizing the supreme royal power, and is the residence of the Liku royal family. The palace is not as luxurious as other palaces, instead, it looks a bit simple. From the outside, it looks like an ordinary resort, except that it is surrounded by tall walls. In the main hall of the palace, the king of this country, Riku Dold III, was sitting on the throne with a frown on his face and a sad look on his face. King Riku has a strong build, explosive hair extensions, and a majestic expression, but his twinkling eyes show that he is a scheming king, and his political skills are definitely not bad. Your Majesty, don't worry anymore. Marine has agreed to our request for help. Cyrus, the army commander on the side, couldn't help but comfort him. I have indeed asked the Vice Admiral of the Marine for help. It is estimated that the Marine sent by the Vice Admiral is already on the way. However, what worries me is that the Marine side is moving frequently now and the troops deployed are limited. What we have to face is the enemy is a member of the Big Mom Pirates. King Liku said with some worry, Your Majesty, it's all my fault. I'm too weak to help you. Cyrus felt a little guilty. As the commander of Dressrosa's army, he could only wait helplessly for Marine to ask for help in the face of the attack from foreign enemies. Moreover, he was also the husband of Princess Scarlet, which made him immediately feel a sense of indebtedness to his wife. Cyrus, what nonsense are you talking about? You have already shouldered a lot for this country. Besides, the opponent is the Big Mom Pirates, the overlord of the New World, a big pirate that even Marine is afraid of. You don't have to blame yourself for anything. King Liku shouted sternly that he was very satisfied with Cyrus as his son-in-law, but he did not want Cyrus to be resentful about this kind of thing. You are a man who has won 4,000 matches in a row in the gladiatorial arena. Don't say such depressing words. Yes, Your Majesty, Cyrus responded loudly, with more respect for King Liku in his eyes. By the way, Minister Zuo, is there any specific news from Marine? Baron Dandan of the Big Mom Pirates has sent word that some of the cadres will be here in a few days. King Liku nodded slightly to Cyrus, and then asked the left minister next to him. Crane Vice Admiral said on the phone that they had set off a few days ago and are expected to arrive at Dressrosa soon. However, the specific personnel were not disclosed. They just said that there was a Rear Admiral and Commodore leading the way. What? A Rear Admiral? Is Marine's combat power distribution already so tense? King Riku was shocked. How could a Rear Admiral compete with the leaders of the Big Mom Pirates? As for the Commodore, he simply ignored him. Even adding another Rear Admiral would probably be enough. Your Majesty, I don't think you need to worry. Vice Admiral, he is the Chief Staff Officer of the Naval Headquarters. She must have her reasons for doing this. Minister Zuo said after careful consideration. 2. King Riku rubbed his somewhat obscure brows with difficulty. As a member of the world government, Marine would definitely not deal with them. But with the current situation, can a Rear Admiral and Commodore really stabilize the situation? Forget it, I'll just place my hope on Marine now. You all step back, and Cyrus, go back and spend more time with Scarlet. Now that he's pregnant, you have to make her be more careful and not be as frizzy as before. I'm so impatient. King Liku was chattering to Cyrus. At this time, he was more like a father worried about his daughter than the king of Dressrosa. Yes. When Cyrus heard the mention of the princess who had committed herself to him, a sweet smile appeared on his lips, and his voice became a little more sonorous. Guillaume Rear Admiral, how long are we before Dressrosa? Atlas, who had just come out of the training room with his naked upper body, walked to Guillaume, who was staring at the sea in a daze, and asked. Huh? According to our current speed, we will probably be able to arrive smoothly tomorrow morning. Guillaume's eyes flickered and he replied lazily, that's okay. According to Vice Admiral Suru's information, the leaders of the Big Mom pirates shouldn't arrive so soon. The sea in the early morning is always so hazy and mysterious. The rays of sunlight filtering through the mist are like dots of gold sprinkled in the air, which is really gorgeous. Dressrosa, a tropical island with a resort style, is home to the New World Kingdom known as the Fairy Kingdom of Love and Passion. There are a large number of mushroom-shaped rocks on the nearby coast, which makes it difficult for ordinary ships to dock. However, a port is specially set up to provide docking for ships. Some kingdom guards are set up to patrol the port location, in order to prevent pirates from docking and to be able to dock as quickly as possible. Speed reporting to React. At this time, a marine-style warship was quietly moored at the port. After Guillaume arranged the supply of the warship, he disembarked behind Atlas. He himself also had a crush on this so-called Fairy of Love and Passion. Country is very interested. Hey, Guillaume Rear Admiral, as the highest officer of this operation, shouldn't you go and communicate with His Majesty the King here on relevant matters? Seeing that Guillaume seemed to want to join him, Atlas quickly stopped him. Are you kidding me? I finally went out shopping to relax. How could I bring a troublesome creature like a woman with me? What a charming person, little brother Canos. Guillaume rolled his eyes when he heard this. He originally wanted to experience the resort style here first. Of course, she also knew that she had to give King Riku some reassurance first, otherwise she might be in a hurry. After all, it was the Overlord pirate group of the New World that was eyeing Dressrosa. Guillaume Rear Admiral, I'll take the trouble to go there, ha ha ha. Atlas didn't want to make some false politeness with the king, and Guillaume happened to be good at dealing with people, and his scheming skills were not comparable to Atlas's. After seeing Guillaume and walking towards King's Highland, Atlas looked at this unique tourist destination with satisfaction. Dressrosa's clothing and culture were a bit like the Spanish style in Atlas' previous life, and women could be seen everywhere. Dance in hot dance outfits. While admiring beauties of various styles and tasting unique delicacies, Atlas unknowingly broke into a building with a strong ancient Roman Colosseum style. There was a kingdom at every entrance and exit of the building. The guards held hands strictly, and the words, "No children allowed," were posted on the walls. The thick walls still couldn't stop the shouts that almost broke through the sky. Arena. Interesting. Atlas opened his mouth, quickly destroyed the barbecue in his hand, threw it into the trash can on the roadside, and then strode towards the gate of the arena. The guards standing guard at the door did not stop him much. Although Atlas was still wearing a white suit and a cloak of justice, the current bullfighting arena is not like the one ruled by Doflamingo later, where filth and evil spread everywhere. The soil is full of sin, so the guards have no reason to block Atlas's entry. The entrance fee is not very expensive, but as a famous tourist attraction in Dressrosa, the daily passenger flow can be said to be very huge, and it is an important source of finance for the country. It is also a place where many swordsmen compete with each other. Of course, there are some crimes that are not worth it. Dead criminals were exiled here, the most famous being Cyrus, the consort of Dressrosa. As soon as you enter the gate of the arena, you can hear the roar of people. The layout of the entire arena is very wide and simple, surrounded by crowded auditoriums, with a circular ring in the middle, and surrounding the ring is a pool, in which are inhabited the ferocious fighting fish swarm. If a player accidentally falls into the water during the battle, even if he is eliminated, he will still have to face the fighting fish swarm. Atlas found a place to sit at the back, and with his hearing and eyesight, he could clearly see what was going on in the ring. The ones currently fighting are two swordsmen holding broad swords. They're very ordinary. Their swordsmanship style is also inclined to open and close, and use force to overwhelm people. This can also be seen from their strong bodies. The crowd around them was very excited. Although the swordsman's duel was not as physical as the taijutsu and was full of visual impact of violent aesthetics, it was also a spice to their boring life. After watching it for a while, Atlas felt a little boring. As for him, he definitely had no intention of ending the game in person. The level was too different. Although it was a landmark building in Dressrosa, it did not offer attractive prizes like Doflamingo. It lures the strong men on the sea to fight for it, so the level is not very high. King's Heights, in the main hall of Dressrosa Palace. King Riku is sitting on the throne with a majestic expression. The next person is the Gion Rear Admiral who has just arrived at Dressrosa. Looking at King Riku's satisfied look from time to time, you can tell that the conversation between the two is very friendly. "Oh, by the way, isn't there a Commodore accompanying us? Why didn't I see anyone?" A trace of curiosity flashed across King Riku's face, and he asked in a slightly probing tone. "Atlas Commodore, he went to experience the love and passion of Dressrosa." Mentioning Atlas, Gion looked a little helpless. This guy is simply a hands-off shopkeeper who doesn't care about anything. Thanks to His Majesty King Riku's good governance, Dressrosa is so prosperous. Even if we are far away in Marineford, we have admired its name for a long time. Ha 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 ha, that's too much praise. King Riku laughed loudly when he heard this, and his expression showed pride. After all, everyone carried the sedan chair, and even the wisest king could not resist flattery. But to be honest, Dressrosa's governance is really not very good. Although it looks prosperous on the surface, the people's lives are not very rich. On the contrary, when Doflamingo ruled, Dressrosa was much richer, which is very irony. Then I wonder how the Gion Rear Admiral will respond to the invasion of the Big Mom pirates. After talking for 3 rounds, King Riku finally couldn't help but ask the question in his heart. Please rest assured, His Majesty King Riku, our Lord Commodore is a new monster in Marine. Even the Shichibukai crocodile was defeated by him. Gion pursed his lips and chuckled, explaining calmly. Is he the one called Marine Nova? King Riku tried hard to search for memories in his mind. He seemed to have some impression of Atlas, and then he felt a little relieved. It's just that people are a bit unreliable, Gion complained secretly in his heart. Ah sneeze. Atlas, who was walking on the Avenue of Lovers with his mouth full of dog food, suddenly felt an itch on his nose. Really, who is thinking about me? Hey, Owen, don't be impulsive. Now that Marine is moving frequently, the situation in New World is getting more and more tense. A steady voice came from a phone bug whose chin was wrapped in a huge scarf. Katakuri, there's no need to worry, it's just Dressrosa. Since they don't agree to provide dessert processing for Mom, then I don't need to be polite. Owen, who is holding a phone bug in his hand, is indifferent. With his strength, Dressrosa is not useless. In the face of powerful strength, the role of the army is useless. Dressrosa is a member of the world government, they will definitely ask Marine for help. Katakuri is a little worried. The current New World is like a dynamite barrel. It only takes a little flame to completely detonate. He doesn't want Big Mom the pirates have become the target of public criticism. Otherwise, his younger brothers and sisters will inevitably suffer a large number of casualties. Okay, Katakuri, that's it, I will definitely give Mom a perfect gift. Snap. After Owen finished speaking, he didn't care what Katakuri thought and hung up the phone directly. Damn it. Damn it. Katakuri found that the call had been hung up, and he was immediately annoyed. His face gradually darkened, and he had a bad premonition in his heart. Come here, prepare the ship, target, Dressrosa. Dressrosa, coastal port. A medium-sized 3-masted sailboat was moored slowly on the coast. A pirate flag was flying on the thick mast. The background of the flag was mainly black. The pattern was a waving skull with a top hat and pink curly hair. What was funny was that the skull's teeth are rimmed with bright lipstick. Of course, if there are pirates from the New World, they will definitely not laugh here, because this pirate flag represents the overlord of the New World, the Big Mom pirates. Quick! Go to King's Heights and ask His Majesty King Riku to send troops quickly. The guards stationed at the port immediately noticed the approach of the pirate ship and quickly launched a rescue operation to the palace. How dare Dressrosa inform Marine? It seems necessary to teach them a lesson. Shoot lousy. Charlotte Owen looked at the marine-style warship also moored in the port and said with a gloomy expression. Ha 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 ha. Yes, Sir Owen. Really, how dare you disobey our Big Mom pirates? All the pirates on the ship shouted. Boom boom boom. Huge cannonballs were fired from the pirate ship at the warship, but the marine who stayed behind on the warship was not a vegetarian and quickly pointed the muzzle at the pirate ship. Suddenly, gunfire started flying. The pirates on Owen's ship rushed down and fought with the guards and marines. The shouts and the roar of gunfire were mixed together, and the smell of gunpowder smoke was everywhere. Owen stood indifferently on the bow of the boat, with no end in sight. Although he said he wanted to teach Dressrosa a lesson, he couldn't let his mother's gift suffer too much damage. Atlas, who was eating haze on the streets of Dressrosa, was suddenly startled. Ever since he arrived on the island, his knowledge had covered the entire Dressrosa, and he was naturally aware of Charlotte Owen's arrival. It's interesting that this guy is here. Atlas swallowed the food in his mouth in one gulp, and quickly used shave to rush towards the direction where the warship was docked. The powerful speed stirred up a gust of wind, causing some women in short skirts to scream in surprise. Oops! His Majesty King Riku. The Big Mom pirates are here. In the palace on King's Heights, a guard ran over in a panic and shouted, breathing heavily. What? King Riku was shocked and angry. He didn't expect the Big Mom pirates to move so quickly, and immediately turned his attention to Gion, who was present. Haha, His Majesty King Riku, don't worry, Marine will help you deal with it. Gion also understood what King Riku meant, and immediately expressed relief, then turned around and left, leaving behind a sassy silhouette. Hey, it's such a mess. Let me clear it up. When Atlas arrived at the port, everything was devastated. Marines and kingdom guards each fought to stop the pirates. Charlotte Owen, dressed in orange, stood quietly on the bow of the ship. Conquerors. Launch. Suddenly, the whole space seemed to turn into a black and white picture, and the pirates' expressions were frozen, as if they were frozen in place by time. Marine and the kingdom guards didn't know why, and stood there blankly, looking at the pirates who looked ferocious just now. They fell down one after another. It has been several months since Atlas awakened Conqueror's Haki. With Atlas's talent, he can naturally control Conqueror's attack with precise control. Of course, accidental injury to his own people will not happen. It's the Atlas Commodore. The Atlas Commodore's Conqueror's Haki. It's really scary. It's a Conqueror's Haki that only comes out once in a million. Just as the kingdom guards were stunned, all the Marines already understood that this was the effect of Atlas's Conquerors. They were all shocked and excitedly waved their weapons to harvest the unconscious pirates who fell to the ground, them. Conquerors. Owen at the bow of the ship naturally felt the powerful Conqueror's Haki. Although he did not lose consciousness and fall to the ground like other pirates, under the influence of this strong will, his brain seemed to have been hit hard, and he could not help but feel a little dazed. Charlotte Owen. Atlas knew something about Owen. He could be said to be one of the most powerful members of the Charlotte family. He is a user of the Parameshahit fruit. He is the only one of Big Mom's children who has inherited some of her terrifying physical talents. People. The appearance bounty is 300 million belly, but his strength is far beyond the 300 million bounty level. The current bounty Atlas is not paying attention to, and it won't be too low if you think about it. When will there be another Conqueror's Haki owner in Marine? Owen was a little surprised. As far as he knew, only Sengoku among Marines should have Conquerors. And judging from the strength just now, the Marines' Conquerors in front of him was also very powerful. It didn't want to be an ordinary fish that had just awakened. Conqueror's Haki is not exclusive to you pirates. I believe in the strongest, justice. Atlas responded calmly, waiting unhurriedly for all the Marines and Kingdom Guards to withdraw from the battlefield, otherwise they would be a little helpless in the fight later. Explosion sweep. Atlas first used the dragon talisman to say hello, and the thick pillar of explosive flames swept towards Owen at the bow of the ship. The terrifying force of the explosion instantly shattered the pirate ship into debris. Owen, on the other hand, jumped off the bow of the ship with a gloomy look. With his speed, he couldn't be hurt so easily. You managed to piss me off, Marine. Air heating. Owen instantly activated his fruit power. In his opinion, the Marine in front of him was provoking the Big Mom pirates. You must know that among pirates, the pirate flag is a symbol of their face. Atlas's behavior, it is undoubtedly a slap in their face. In the distance, Atlas felt a hot breath rising from his body, but it was nothing compared to Atlas's physical fitness. He felt as if there were dense ants biting him. Trash. Are you tickling Lousy? Explosion superspeed shaving? Atlas laughed ferociously, and a huge pit immediately appeared under his feet. His speed was like breaking through the limitations of space, and he appeared behind Irving in an instant. Danger! Danger! Irving turned on Ultimate's crazy warning of seeing and hearing, but his body couldn't keep up with the movement of his mind. He could only stand frozen in place and wait for Atlas' fist to land. Boom! There was no armed color, no bells and whistles. Huge power was released on Owen's body, and the whole person flew into the distance like a rag sack. Owen felt as if he had been punched by his mother, who was suffering from schizophrenia. The terrifying force almost made his body fall apart. Tisk. That's not bad, Atlas shook his arm and said with some emotion. As the number of spells he lit increased, he felt that the power of the spells was getting stronger and stronger, as if there was a mutual benefit effect, and the digestion of the spells only gave him powerful physical talents and reduced physical strength. In terms of pure explosive power, his current power can rival the three monsters' Vice Admiral. It can be said that he is increasing his strength and body at a terrifying speed every moment, which is equivalent to an enhanced version of Charlotte Linlin. What kind of monster are you? In the distance, Owen slowly climbed up from the ground, wiping the blood from the corners of his mouth with his dusty arms, his eyes full of shock and disbelief. That moment just now almost made him feel the breath of death. This kind of terrifying speed and power is simply not something humans can possess. Hot Wind Fist. Owen felt a little regretful now. He should have turned around and returned when Katakuri warned him before, but there is no regret medicine in the world. Now he can only bite the bullet and fight the monster in front of him. Maybe there is a chance. Vitality. Yingo dares to compete with Hao Yue? Exploding Fist? Atlas exerted force under his feet, and the explosive power of the Dragon Talisman emerged from his huge fist, and the two collided violently. Boom! In fact, Charlotte Owen's fruit ability has been developed very well. Her body has also inherited part of the talent of Big Mom's steel balloon, and her fruit ability is infinitely close to the awakened state. However, his heat fruit is biased towards the direction of temperature, while Atlas's Dragon Talisman is more biased toward explosive power, and its instantaneous attack power is obviously far inferior. How's it going, Pirate? Do you feel the difference? Atlas looked at Owen, whose right arm was twisted in a strange posture, and said calmly. Marine. You are sure to offend our Big Mom pirates. Mom will not let you go. Owen threatened somewhat viciously. Mom, how big are you? Are you a mommy's boy? Atlas ignored it, stepped forward, opened his big hand, and slapped Owen's face with a big mouth. The originally distinctive hairstyle suddenly fell into pieces, and the whole head was almost sunken. Underneath, the right cheek bulged high, and a few teeth fell to the ground mixed with the blood spurting from the corner of the mouth. Owen struggled to get up. He really didn't know what was going on with the man in front of him. He said something he couldn't understand, and he suddenly got up and slapped him. In fact, Owen is really unlucky this time. He is originally the kind of person who prefers fruit abilities. Even though his physical talent is stronger than other children of Big Mom, he still prefers the use of fruits in physical battles. However, although Atlas Dragon Talisman is mainly an explosive ability, it is still essentially fire. Therefore, Owen's fruit ability was almost half destroyed, and his body and strength were also crushed by Atlas. Press hard on the ground and rub. Tell me, what is your main purpose of coming to Dressrosa this time? Seeing that Owen had been educated enough, he asked casually, after all, isn't it natural to torture information from prisoners? Marine, if you can, just kill Lousy. Owen said very forcefully that with his loyalty to the family, it was impossible for him to tell any information about Big Mom. Oh, okay. Upon hearing this, Atlas immediately pulled out the third-generation ghost from his waist. A blade of light appeared and passed across Owen's neck accurately. A stream of blood suddenly spurted out. Owen subconsciously used his good left arm to cover the wound on his neck. His eyes were as big as copper bells, his expression showed deep reluctance, and countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Damn Lousy, You just subconsciously said a few harsh words, you Marine. Why did you take it seriously? Also, Marines who catch fruit abilities usually put them in Impel Down. Why doesn't this guy follow the routine? And Owen will never have a chance to express these thoughts. Atlas cannot imprison him in Impel Down, because he knows that the Big Mom pirates will definitely bring Owen along with the world government through some shady deals. Out. Just like the group of politicians who secretly make deals with Kaido who occupies Wano Kuni, the five elders only see naked interests. As for the rebirth of Devil Fruit, Atlas doesn't care. The corruption of the world is never caused by Devil Fruit, and there are endless Devil Fruits in the sea, and this hot fruit is no exception. No one alive. At this moment, Gion, who had come all the way from King's Heights, appeared next to Atlas, looking at Owen's tragic body and asked, "Ah, there is no one left alive. This kind of remnant should go to hell to repent." Atlas waved his hand and said calmly, "It's really like Akainu's style, Kano-san," Gion said half-jokingly. "Akainu Vice Admiral and I are different. Gion Rear Admiral should go and deal with the follow-up matters first, while I will continue to enjoy Dressrosa's dance." Gion was stunned for a moment, as if he had been tricked again. He hadn't had a good rest since arriving at Dressrosa. Damn it. New world, Dressrosa. The originally prosperous dock now seemed a bit desolate, and the smoke-filled battlefield was littered with corpses, most of them from the pirate side judging from their appearance. This was also thanks to Atlas's timely arrival, which prevented Marine's side from causing too many casualties. The Marines coming and going were handling the post-war situation in an orderly manner. Gion calmly issued orders one after another. The Marines were like a clockwork machine, executing the procedures in an orderly and efficient manner. Atlas, on the other hand, had to stay where he was due to Gion's strong resistance, looking boredly at the busy Marines and Kingdom Guards, occasionally lending a hand to help. Suddenly, not far away, a curly-haired man wearing a Kingdom Guard uniform and a red cloak rushed towards him. His expression was full of hurry, and his increasingly intensified breathing showed his urgency. Captain of Cyrus Army. A guard recognized the man in front of him, quickly put down what he was holding, and greeted him respectfully. "What's going on? Where are the leaders of the Big Mom pirates?" Cyrus was a little confused. He had received a call from King Liku, so he was accompanying his wife in the hut in the flower field. He picked up his weapon and hurried to the port. The scene he originally expected was a scene mixed with killing cries. With the sound of artillery fire, I didn't expect that the war should be over by the situation in front of me. "Ah, the battle is over," Atlas, who was already bored, brightened up after seeing Cyrus. It was rare to meet a man who interested him, so he quickly came over to pick up the conversation. Cyrus heard the voice and looked at Atlas with confusion. What caught his eye was a Marine Commodore who looked very young. The pure white suit on his body was spotless, and his face with clear lines had an expression that did not belong here. He is calm for his age, and his appearance is not very handsome, but he can be said to be durable in the pirate world where everyone is weird. "Who are you?" "This is Marine Commodore Kano's Atlas. The battle just now ended so quickly thanks to this Marine." The leaders of the Big Mom pirates were also killed by Atlas Commodore. The guards on the side came to introduce Atlas in a timely manner, with a look of reverence in their eyes. They could clearly see the battle just now. Mr. Marine's attitude toward the so-called Big Mom pirate, the cadres of the regiment, can be said to have a crushing attitude. "Thank you so much for helping Dressrosa." Cyrus was a little excited when he heard this, his body tensed, and he bowed to Atlas at a 90-degree angle. For Cyrus, Dressrosa was a place he would risk his life to protect, and he was here a wife, a child about to be born, and a king worthy of his allegiance. Therefore, Cyrus was very grateful to the Marine who had defused Dressrosa. "Cyrus?" Atlas looked at the man in front of him with interest. Whether it was judging from the statues he had seen in the arena before or the memories of his previous life, Cyrus still had two skills. You must know that when Doflamingo tried to seize Dressrosa a few years later, Cyrus defeated the cadres of the Don Quixote family with swordsmanship alone. "I heard about you, would you like to join Marine?" Atlas stated his purpose directly. In his opinion, Cyrus could be said to be a subordinate with great potential, and his character and loyalty were recognized by Atlas. Cyrus was stunned when he heard this. He didn't expect that the Marine in front of him actually wanted to poach him, the captain of the Kingdom Guard. However, Cyrus was still a little moved in his heart. Dressrosa was too young and his swordsmanship had reached a bottleneck. This crisis made him deeply realize the importance of strength. He has a wife and children he wants to protect, as well as a country he loves. He doesn't want to have to wait for the enemy's mercy and Marine's assistance when he encounters another crisis in the future. This time Marine arrived in time, but what if Marine didn't arrive next time? Or did Marine abandon them? Cyrus didn't know what would happen to them, but it would be miserable. But there was a little hesitation in his heart. His pregnant wife had not yet given birth, and he was really reluctant to part with this land of sincerity. Cyrus thought a lot, with hesitation in his eyes. Okay. Give you 3 days to think about it. I will wait for you here then. Atlas saw Cyrus's hesitation and understood his concerns, but if you want to gain strength, you must make sacrifices. Gentle country has always been the grave of the strong. 3 days later, Atlas and Guion had a wonderful 3-day vacation under the warm hospitality of King Riku, and now it was time to return. On the deck of the warship at this time, Cyrus, the former army commander of Dressrosa, stood next to Atlas. In the past few days, King Riku had learned that Atlas was trying to abduct his army commander, but he was nagging at Atlas. It took a long time, but King Riku also understood what Cyrus was thinking, so he didn't stop him. Cyrus, standing next to Atlas, looked at Dressrosa who was getting further and further away with infinite nostalgia, but in his mind he recalled the conversation with Scarlet 3 days ago. Cyrus, you are a hero, and I don't want you to stop because of my ties. Believe me, our children will be proud of you. 3 days ago, after Scarlet saw Cyrus with a sad face after returning home, she learned about Cyrus's dilemma after constant questioning. The love between Scarlet and Cyrus was originally a romantic encounter between a beauty and a hero. Scarlet originally looked down upon Cyrus, who was born in a fighting and killing arena, but Cyrus fell in love with a group of pirates. The two fell in love when the thieves rescued Scarlet. Therefore, Scarlet is very supportive of Cyrus joining Marine. This is what she thinks of a hero, rather than being bound to the world of Dressrosa for the sake of love for her children. Boom! A huge sea kings more than 1,000 meters high slammed into the sea. Countless huge waves rolled up. The ferocious giant mouth kept wailing. Scarlet blood mixed with blue water, and the strong smell of blood hit your face. In an instant, a large number of black shadows swam across the bottom of the sea and quickly gnawed on the corpse of Sea Kings. What a terrifying guy. In just a few days, his strength has increased a lot. The Sea Kings, which were more than 1,000 meters high, were all solved in a matter of seconds. On the deck of the warship, Guion stood with his arms around each other, squeezing out 2 amazing arcs, looking at Atlas' tall figure like a demon and a god with some emotion. When he first saw Atlas, he was still a human being. I was just a student in the recruitment camp, but I didn't expect that it has reached this point. Teacher Zephyr's vision is indeed as sharp as ever. Hey, Guion Rear Admiral, the obstacle has been resolved, you can go. Atlas stepped on Moonwalk and slowly descended to the deck, and said to Guion. Brother Kanos, you are really powerful. It is difficult for me to do this kind of attack. Your strength is getting more and more terrifying. Guion's arms dropped, Xianqin's fingers gently touched Jinpira on his waist, and he said with a playful look. Atlas chuckled lightly and did not explain anything. Now he can be called a strong man in both physical fitness and hockey training. Observation hockey has reached the top level and is not far away from foreseeing the future. The sensing range is also comparable to Enel. Armament hockey, both in terms of quality and quantity, can keep up with the top powerhouses of the sea who have been immersed in the sea for many years. As for the internal destruction, they have not yet achieved it. The awakening time of Conqueror's hockey is still short, only in the initial stage, and the entanglement is far away. In terms of spells, the power given to him by the Ox Talisman is also constantly growing. For example, if the previous power of Atlas was 1, the power given to him by the Ox Talisman will multiply on this basis. In theory, the power of the Ox Talisman is infinite, but Atlas's existing muscles and bones cannot be said to have the power to destroy the planet. The same is true for the Rabbit spell. In the original work, the ability to travel through time and space was achieved through scientific means, but this is also difficult to achieve for Atlas. Just like Kizaru's sparkling fruit, if it wants to reach the speed of light, it needs strong physical and neurological reactions to support it. The warship continued to sail on the sea, and its destination was Marine's G5 base. Suddenly, Marine on the watchtower shouted urgently, "A pirate ship has been spotted ahead. Judging from the direction it is traveling, it seems." He paused for a moment, with a hint of uncertainty in his tone, and continued, "The target seems to be us. All preparations, scouts. Do you see clearly that it's the enemy?" Guillaume didn't panic at all, calmly issued the order to prepare for the battle, and at the same time asked about the opponent's situation. In any battle, intelligence always comes first, because you never know what kind of magic your enemy has. Weird fruit ability, one can accidentally lose his own life. Report Rear Admiral. The enemy ship seems to be flying the flag of the Big Mom Pirates. It seems he's here for Charlotte Owen, but I don't know who he is. Atlas on the side looked interested when he heard this. It would be best if it was Katakuri. He has been in the New World for so long and has experienced large and small battles that have made his strength grow rapidly. So he felt more and more that his original choice was correct. Soon, the warship met the pirate ship. The man standing at the bow was just as Atlas expected, Charlotte Linlin's second son, Charlotte Katakuri. This man is known as the highest masterpiece of the Charlotte family. Man. Atlas looked up and down at the gloomy-looking man in front of him. Katakuri was tall, with short amaranth red hair, strong muscles, and slender legs. There was a patched scar on each cheek, which made his temperament appear more fierce. There is a pink tattoo starting from his left arm and ending on his left back. He wears a white scarf like a flower around his neck, deeply hiding the part below his nose. Wearing a pair of black gloves on his hands, and a thorn ring on his left arm, he was dressed in the style of a spirited young man, with an unusually cold expression on his face, and his eyes were fixed on Atlas. "Hey, Marine. Where's Owen?" Perhaps Katakuri was a little impatient as Atlas looked him over. A low and magnetic voice slowly came out from behind the scarf. Under his cold appearance, he was deeply worried about his younger brother. The Big Mom Pirates is a very strange pirate force. It is established based on family ties. Charlotte Linlin only believes in family ties, so this pirate group rarely accepts outsiders unless they are married to the aunt's daughter, like Capone Beeg and Sanji in the original work. But among all the children, Katakuri is undoubtedly the most charismatic figure, and is deeply loved and respected by his younger brothers and sisters, because he is different from people like Owen, who puts family above family ties. For Katakuri, protecting family ties is higher than family, so even if Katakuri betrays Big Mom's children, he will not kill him. It can be said that he is a perfect man. "Are you talking about the flaming yellow-haired pirate?" Atlas's lips curved into a smile, and he looked at Katakuri, who was looking increasingly gloomy in front of him, with a playful expression. "You wanna die?" Katakuri was furious. He had already foreseen what Atlas was about to say. Even if he had a premonition, it was a little hard for him to accept what was happening in front of him. You must know that the older brothers and sisters supported and relied on each other in the early days of the Big Mom Pirates, so their relationship with each other is much deeper. Atlas was a little surprised. He didn't expect Katakuri to have mastered the color of sight to the point of predicting the future so early. He just didn't know how much time in the future he could predict. He is truly worthy of being a guy who awakened hockey at the age of 3. His talent for seeing and hearing is almost as good as those who were born with the color of seeing and hearing. "Hey, don't be angry, how about?" Atlas saw Katakuri's furious look and couldn't help but comfort him. "How about Lousy send you down to accompany him? Ha 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 ha." I have to say that Atlas's comfort was indeed effective. Katakuri's mood stabilized immediately. His eyes were covered with thick shadows, and the temperament around him became colder and colder, just like an all-pervasive lion majesty. "Hey, brother Kanos, do you want my help?" Guillaume's expression on the side was a little solemn. She had also heard of Katakuri's name. The current bounty was 600 million belly. His true strength was far more than this number. He was the most powerful pirate in the Big Mom Pirates except Charlotte. Linlin himself is the strongest. "No, Guillaume Rear Admiral, just protect the warship. But I am very interested in this guy." As Atlas spoke, he stepped on the moonwalk and walked towards Katakuri, his body covered in armament. Explosions continued under his feet, and the reaction force generated by the huge blast force continued to push Atlas's body. What an arrogant Marine! But hurting my family is unforgivable. Are you ready to die? Katakuri looked indifferent, seemingly unconcerned about Owen's death, but there was a trace of sadness and resentment in his eyes. Adjutant, inform the helmsman to stay away from this sea area and pick up the Atlas Commodore from a distance. Hearing this, Guillaume no longer tried to dissuade him, but silently kept the warship away to avoid constraining Atlas. Yes. The adjutant replied loudly. Katakuri didn't stop when he saw this. His sight told him that only the man in front of him was worthy of his serious treatment. As for the other Marines, they're just trash, except for the female swordsman. Katakuri, I wonder if you have some misunderstanding about your own strength? Atlas sarcastically said without mercy, he is the master of the formation who will not lose even if he loses. No matter what, he can't give in. As soon as he finished speaking, Atlas looked solemn, a terrifying aura spurted out of him, and a depressing aura pressed directly on Katakuri. Conqueror's Haki. Not to be outdone, Katakuri also erupted with powerful Conqueror's Haki to fight against him. Suddenly, countless black and red lightnings surged between the two. The violent momentum shocked the fish in the nearby sea and some sea kings passing by so that their eyes turned white. The violent wind blew away Atlas' cloak of justice, hunting sound. After the two were in a stalemate for dozens of seconds, Atlas Conquerors slowly gained the upper hand, and then forced Katakuri's Conquerors directly back into his body. First round. Atlas wins. Katakuri said nothing and just pointed the trident in his hand at Atlas. Suddenly, Katakuri's trident spun rapidly inexplicably, and continued to rapidly extend in the direction of Atlas, leaving a series of sonic boom sounds in the air. Nuo Tuan stabs. Atlas was not afraid at all, and fired intense flames from his hands without changing his expression. The huge pillar of explosive flames collided with the trident. Razor explosion. Atlas moved almost instantaneously, dodging from the explosion of fire to Katakuri's back, just as Atlas was about to give him a righteous backstab. Katakuri suddenly moved his body sideways, and his sideways movement just happened to avoid Atlas' attack. See and hear. Predict future. Atlas has a headache. Although there are infinite possibilities in the future, he has no way to predict the future, unless his knowledge is much better than Katakuri, or his body can crush him. Attitude. However, Atlas's eyes showed excitement, and it would be more valuable to fight against such a strong man. Finger pistol Madara. Atlas instantly shot out dozens of finger shadows and stabbed Katakuri's body densely. The finger pistol with a terrifying sound of breaking through the air instantly pierced dozens of finger holes on Katakuri's body, but it did not leave any blood. Katakuri's fruit ability is a special Paramisha Nuo fruit ability user, which can achieve elementalization effects similar to Logia. In addition, his level of observation and color is above Atlas, and he can basically predict it very accurately. Go to all attack points in Atlas. What a hassle! Atlas complained secretly. He didn't know how Luffy defeated this guy in the original book. He was really speechless. Bird rice cake. A whip made of rice cakes suddenly stretched out from Katakuri's hand, with a rich armed color wrapped around it, and it wound towards Atlas. Atlas didn't resist and let this guy play bondage play. Boom! A violent explosion sounded from Atlas's body, and the bird rice cakes on his body turned into powder and fell to the ground. Is this a toy for children? Katakuri. Atlas laughed mercilessly, and activated the explosive power under his feet. Katakuri's pirate ship instantly turned into debris in the sky. Pieces of wreckage drifted alone on the sea. Damn it! Isn't this guy an Esper? Katakuri stepped on the air, feeling a little angry. Atlas destroyed the ship, forcing them to fight in the air. As for the ability to fly, almost most powerful people will have similar skills. Skills like moonwalk are not a secret in New World, but they consume a lot of physical strength. Your attacks can't hit me. Marine. Katakuri looked at Atlas, who was also flying into the air, and tried to use words to break through Atlas's psychological defense. La, let's talk with our strength, Katakuri. Explosion fort. The thick pillar of explosive flames immediately enveloped Katakuri. Ningli rice cake. Katakuri's hand suddenly turned into a bar-shaped rice cake covered in armament colors, rapidly hitting the blasting flames from all directions while his body kept moving back. Boom! Katakuri was directly lifted more than 10 meters away by the huge airwave. Razor-speed explosion. Before Katakuri could stand still, Atlas attacked him at a terrifying speed. Can't see clearly, Katakuri's heart sank. He actually couldn't capture Atlas' figure. No wonder Owen was defeated by this guy. Iron fist, arms, explosion. Unparalleled rice cake blade bomb. Boom. 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 The thunderous collision almost set off a terrifying storm, and the sea suddenly became rough and huge waves rolled. Are you kidding? Is this a battle between monsters? You can actually fight the Atlas Commodore to such an extent. Nonsense. That is the highest masterpiece of the Charlotte family. He is indeed a man who dares to challenge Whitebeard. Atlas Commodore is still as reliable as ever. The Marines who were hiding far away all sighed in admiration. Even though they were far apart, the aftermath of the battle left them all frightened. Cyrus, who was wearing a Marine uniform, sighed with a complex expression. What kind of monster invited me? Damn it. Fighting in the air limits my fruit ability too much. Katakuri stood firm. His eyes were extremely calm, and he was not disturbed by the momentary disadvantage. He just locked eyes with Atlas on the opposite side with a look of knowledge. Suddenly, Katakuri's long legs split into several legs without warning. Each leg was hardened with an armament color, and then attacked Atlas at an extremely fast speed. Willow cake. Atlas's sense of sight had been activated long ago, and his body quickly turned into a thin piece of paper, swinging with the airflow caused by Katakuri's thigh, and he easily dodged all attacks. Although my knowledge is not as strong as Katakuri's, I have at least reached an advanced level. As for armament hockey, there is not much difference in quality between the two of us. While Atlas was avoiding Katakuri's athlete's foot attack, he compared the strength of the two. Although Katakuri is the one person in the pirate world who has mastered the knowledge and skills to the highest level, this guy's weapon skills are not weak at all. Seeing that Atlas had neutralized his willow pancake attack so easily, Katakuri's expression on his eyebrows became even more gloomy. At the same time, his legs quickly turned into a waxy quality, covered in armament color, and then compressed sharply. Pushed by a reaction force, it quickly rushed towards Atlas. Baked rice cakes. The upper part of the charging Katakuri's hand quickly turned into rice cake compression, and strong flames suddenly wrapped around it, covered in dark armament hockey, like a bursting rocket launcher, and the powerful power almost tore the air apart. The powerful penetrating power penetrated Atlas's body in an instant, and Atlas's entire body quickly dissipated like the moon in the mirror. Afterimage. Katakuri gave a crazy warning when he saw the color, and a large amount of glutinous dough flowed out from his body, covering his whole body. The rich armed color quickly covered the glutinous dough. Damn! How can this guy be so fast? Katakuri felt helpless. Just like Atlas was helpless about what he saw and heard, Katakuri was also very troubled by Atlas's speed, explosive power and strength. Explosive fist armed. A soft sound penetrated the thick layer of glutinous rice and reached Katakuri's ears, which made the alarm bells ring in his heart. His muscles tightened, and the glutinous balls produced by the super creation became a little thicker. Boom! Another strong explosion sounded, but Atlas did not show any joy. Katakuri had already been fully prepared for defense. After the smoke dissipated, a dark ball was exposed in the air. Soon, the balls turned into black powdery solids and fell one after another. The howling sea wind passed by and disappeared from sight. What a terrifying knowledge of knowledge! Can you predict most of my attacks? Atlas twisted his neck slightly, moved his energy and blood, and said with some solemnity. Without waiting for Katakuri to reply, Atlas directly approached him, preparing to have a physical collision between men. Katakuri's reaction was not slow. His arms quickly turned into waxy balls and were covered in armament colors. Although his weapon color does not have the terrifying total amount like Atlas, it is still possible to persist in a protracted battle with the sight color. Boom! 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 The two fisted and kicked, and the collision of armed weapons kept making metallic whine sounds. Atlas used life return from time to time to expand his arms, and the thick muscle fibers showed terrifying power. Katakuri, on the other hand, is like a tentacle monster, with his body splitting out countless tentacles covered in armed colors. He can always accurately block every attack of Atlas by relying on his ability to predict the future. It seems that Atlas has met his opponent. Guillaume, who was watching the battle in the distance with his sight color, was a little worried. Although judging from the current situation, Atlas did have the upper hand, but Katakori's sight color was a bit stronger than Atlas. The kind that could predict Mirai's abilities were so heaven-defying that none of Atlas' attacks actually landed on Katakori. Of course, Guillaume didn't know Atlas' current terrifying self-healing power, but his slender and white hands had already touched Jinpira on his waist. Although the duel was requested by Atlas himself, they were both Marines not going to sit idly by. In the mid-air in the distance, the battle between the two has entered a fierce stage. Judging from the appearance alone, Atlas does look more embarrassed, but basically he has not suffered any serious injuries, and Katakori still wore the same outfit as when he appeared on the scene. Apart from massaging his numb fists from time to time, there was no difference. Damn it. There's no way to use the ability to awaken from the fruit in the air. Katakori secretly hates that the awakening of his Nuo fruit can assimilate the surrounding environment, giving nearby things the characteristics of Nuo and being able to be used by him, but now there is nothing in the air that his Nuo can use. The fruit was assimilated, and the only ship was turned into a wreck by Atlas. Is Atlas strong? Of course it's strong. This is a man with almost no shortcomings in physical skills, physical strength, and hockey. Katakori asked himself, if his observation hockey hadn't been trained to the point of foreseeing the future, what would his chances of winning against such a monster be? The answer is I don't know. There are too many factors that affect the battle, but the odds of winning will definitely be smaller than now. Marine, I agree with you, but hurting my family is unforgivable. You should stay here today. Cut. Rice cake. Katakori's arms suddenly expanded to a huge size, and barbs appeared on the giant arm, a bit like a mace. As usual, it was covered with armed colors and then rotated at high speed. The entire arm directly turned into a waxy ball with a soft nature. Let the mace fly like a meteor hammer and go straight to Atlas's face. Well done. Atlas was not afraid at all. His already strong body quickly expanded to a height of 5 meters through the return of life. His broad back was like a ferocious grimace. Every muscle fiber in his body was dyed with black and red armed colors. A mysterious pattern is outlined from the corner of the eye, and finally converges on the forehead. The whole person presents an explosive power and beauty. Return of life, arms, and martial god body. Boom. Atlas waved his huge fist and hit Katakori's mace. Both moves tend to be more powerful, but Atlas with the Ox Talisman is undoubtedly better. Boom boom boom. A terrifying air explosion sounded on Katakori's body. Under this pure strength competition, Katakori couldn't control his flying body and fell straight into the distance. Katakori. You can't defeat me, even if you have the ability to predict the future. Katakori remained silent, just looking at Atlas, who was talking to himself without any emotion. Atlas didn't care and continued. Even if you can fight with me for days and nights, you will definitely be the one who is exhausted in the end, and I am not a fruit power user. Katakori didn't question it. A man with such courage would disdain to lie. Moreover, he knew very well that he came out too hastily this time, and there was a female swordsman watching over Marine. He was definitely the one who lost in the end. Come on. Give your life a final blow. Katakori tore off the tattered clothes on his body, exposing his muscular upper body. He quickly produced a large number of glutinous balls on his body, and at the same time, the armor wrapped around him. Bring it on. Atlas took a deep breath and turned on his sight color to ultimate. His muscles tightened and his armed color became more intense. He knew that if Katakori wanted to leave, he really couldn't stop him now. The strength gap between them is not very big. Explosive fist armed. Cut, strange rice cake. As the high-temperature explosive power and the weird mace-like fists collided fiercely, the terrifying airwaves hit their bodies crazily, and the surrounding air seemed to be drawn out into a vacuum zone. Both of them were violently thrown away, while Katakori took advantage of the impact and flew away. Atlas did not step forward to intercept, but just forcibly stabilized his body in the air, quietly watching his retreating back. How's it going, Brother Kanos? Back on the ship, Guillaume looked up and down at Atlas, who was in a state of embarrassment, and said with a slight smile. Ah, fortunately, he is quite strong. Atlas casually patted the gray stains on his body, then pulled off the cloth strip hanging on his body, looked at the adjutant beside him and said, "Bolton, please bring me some clothes, thank you, got it." "Yes. You don't have to be so polite, Atlas Commodore." Bolton was a little excited. After following Atlas for just a few days, he was completely impressed by Atlas's strength. New World, Toto Land Sea Area. This is a dreamy sea area, filled with the smell of sweet desserts, gurgling cream, and huge ships singing strangely. This is the main ship of the Big Mom Pirates, the Queen Mother Anthem, surrounded by distinctive Kadri ships, and the outermost are numbered Egg Tart ships. These fleets form the powerful New World Overlord pirate group. At this time, the Somme is on board. Big Mom, with a big belly, is sitting in the upper seat. Her originally ferocious face is particularly gloomy at this time. Katakuri is silent on the left side of the lower body, and on the right is holding a huge lollipop and extending it. Perospero with a scarlet tongue. At this time, the atmosphere in the hall was also somewhat solidified. Perospero didn't even dare to lick the lollipop, for fear that if he accidentally got affected by the angry Big Mom, he might lose his life. Because they received a piece of news that frightened them. The fourth son of Big Mom, their brother, Charlotte Owen, died. It's quite ridiculous to say that the Big Mom Pirates are a powerful pirate group built with family as the core and blood ties as the bond, but Big Mom's children have never felt the slightest bit of love from Big Mom. Mother's love can only be as harsh as a tyrant. Well, are you saying that Boy Owen died at the hands of a Marine? Katakuri? Big Mom's eyes with purple eyeshadow were now as big as copper bells. Her fat face came close to Katakuri. Katakuri could even clearly see the scarlet beads on her eyeballs. Bloodshot, looking like an evil ghost from hell. Katakuri remained silent, his eyes meeting Big Mom's without fear, but his stern look revealed his mood. As Katakuri, who has the deepest affection for his younger siblings, his grief is definitely no less than anyone else's, but the tyrant in front of her is not among those grieving. She just feels embarrassed. Well, you're such a loser, you've brought shame on me. Katakuri, why didn't you bring that Marine back? Sorry, Mom, that Marine is not weak, I can't help Owen get revenge. Perospero was shocked. Although he was the eldest among Big Mom's children, the most powerful one was Katakuri in front of him. This man, who was known as the highest masterpiece of the Charlotte family, was his first time. To hear this from a man whose back never touches the ground. Well, you are also a waste. Are you prepared to be killed by me? Big Mom was so angry that she laughed. Her thick face was even more terrifying, and her big grinning mouth looked like the entrance to the legendary hell. Mom, calm down. Katakuri can't die. We'll have plenty of opportunities to kill Marine in the future to save face for you, Mom. Perospero on the side broke into a cold sweat, and he was under great pressure to dissuade the furious Big Mom. Just as he said, if Katakuri died in the hands of Big Mom, let alone the pirates, his strength will be greatly damaged, and the other younger brothers and sisters will also be alienated. You must know that Katakuri is their most respected brother, and Perospero has to admit this. Furthermore, the relationship between Perospero and Katakuri is also very deep. Several of their older children experienced the test of life and death in the early days of the pirate group. Well, I'll let you go this time. Remember to get that Marine's head for me, Katakuri. Big Mom also stopped activating the fruit ability after hearing this. Although he is moody, as a cunning pirate queen, he can still control his emotions at critical moments. After all, no one can become the overlord of the New World. It's a simple thing. Even Kaido of the Beasts, who looks the most reckless, has his own tricks. Yes. Mom. New World, G5 base. Ha, Atlas, you really are a kid, and that old woman from Big Mom will probably go crazy now. Needless to say, just by hearing this voice, you knew it was that guy Garp. At this time, he was frantically tapping Atlas on the shoulder with an excited look on his face. Atlas, on the other hand, reported the mission to Vice Admiral Crane, who was sitting in the office chair, with a look of helplessness on his face. And with the passing of the news, the New World at this time can be said to be undercurrent. New World, the sea area of the Pirate Alliance. The dark sky is brewing with a gloomy atmosphere, swamps are everywhere, and mosquitoes are rampant. The entire island is like an undeveloped no man's land. The dense tropical rainforest and the cramped space make people feel bored. Hey, Shui Si. Why do you always like such a dark place? Can't you choose a more normal place? A dark-skinned man who was 5 meters tall said with some dissatisfaction. The horizontal flesh of the face is constantly shaking with the bite of the jaw, looking like a moving fortress. Yes, you are such a vulgar guy. If I had known better, I would have let me find a sunny beach. We can bask in the sun and admire the beauties in bikinis. That would be the enjoyment of life. A man dressed as a gentleman on the side echoed, but what is quite funny is that this guy has no hair on his head and has mean eyebrows, but his compact facial features are set on a big face, and the tie above his neck is also nondescript. There is a sense of comedy that resembles a cat and a tiger but a dog. HMPH ha ha ha. You're Mac, Klaus. You two have a lot to do. Lousy just likes the feeling of mosquitoes sucking blood. A man with a sinister face and a long hooked nose said sullenly, and stretched out his scarlet tongue to lick his chapped lips in a disgusting manner. Okay, stop arguing. Let's talk about the purpose of this meeting first, Blood sighed. Looking at the people who were still quarreling, Francis couldn't help but remind him that he didn't want to listen to these guys complaining here. It was a waste of his time, not to mention that he came here with a mission. Okay, let's get to the point. Have you read the newspapers from the past few days? Bloodscythe Lackham asked in a deep voice. Are you saying that Owen of the Big Mom Pirates died at the hands of the Marine Nova a few days ago? Even their greatest masterpiece, Katakuri, couldn't do anything about that Marine? Hee. Of course, didn't you notice something from this matter? Our opportunity has come. Perhaps as long as we defeat a New World Overlord, we can completely establish a foothold in the New World and become the undisputed pirate overlord. Lackham stood up excitedly, his voice was passionate, and his expression was like a church fanatic. Francis on the side had a strange look on his face, and he was a bit doubtful whether this guy had the same purpose as himself. Bloodscythe, you have to know that we are 4 pirate groups who unite to have a chance to resist Whitebeard and the others, but we are still lingering on, living in a corner of the New World. Yermak, dressed as a gentleman, questioned. It's really stupid, can't you see clearly what Marine's purpose is? First the Whitebeard pirates, and then the Big Mom pirates. Marine has made up his mind to deal with these so-called pirate overlords. The New World simply cannot tolerate so many overlord, so we have no way out. You have to know that the Whitebeard pirates are a pirate group that survived countless encirclements and suppressions by Marine in the last era. Whitebeard himself is even known as the strongest man in the world. Just how can we challenge this entrenched pirate? A lion. Although Klaus appears to have bulging muscles and well-developed limbs, it does not mean that his brain is not good. He clearly understands the strength gap between himself and the other 3 overlords. Big Mom pirates. Francis, who had been silent from the beginning, said, and directly released a depth charge. Reason? Yermak asked with playful eyes. At this stage, no pirate overlord can be dealt with alone, so they have no other choice but to advance and retreat together. According to my information, the old woman from Big Mom is still pregnant and has not yet given birth. This must have greatly restricted her strength. Moreover, the eldest of her children, Owen, was executed by Marine, and the others, most of the children, are still too young and not strong enough. So this is the time when the Big Mom pirates are at their weakest. Like the Whitebeard pirates, although they have fought against Marine the most, they have not heard of any important combatants dying at the hands of Marine. Kaido of the Beasts, our subordinates, occupy Wano-kuni, and the location is easy to defend but difficult to attack, making it too difficult for us. When we defeat the Big Mom pirates, we can take their place and become the real overlord of the New World. And it is said that Big Mom has a red historical text in his hands. It is not impossible that the One Piece's great secret treasure will be obtained by then. Francis analyzed the current situation of New World with reasonable evidence, and at the same time, the future blueprint he drew made everyone present feel excited. The other 3 lowered their heads in thought, their eyes flashing constantly, silently weighing the gains and losses in their hearts. Yermak sneered, then they will be killed by Marine, and they will live alone in Impel Down forever? Don't worry, Marine is probably in full swing with the Whitebeard pirates right now and doesn't care about us at all. Besides, we are pirates who live by licking blood from the edge of a knife. When did we become so timid? This is our last chance. I believe you all know it well. Yes, Francis is right. They pirates are no different from gamblers, except that gamblers are betting money on the gambling table, and what they are betting on is their lives. Although the risk is high, the benefits that can be obtained are also very optimistic. If successful, New World will definitely have a place for them. Hee. I agree. The always active Bloodscythe Lackham was the first to agree to Francis's plan, which made Francis even more suspicious of his identity. Lousy just took a gamble. I don't have any problem either. Very good, let's discuss the next battle plan. On a huge three-masted sailing ship, a ferocious pirate flag was hung on the thick mast. The main body was an ordinary skeleton, but it was not a human skull, but a bit like a bear skull. The whole skull was covered with a huge scar. Crossing it, it looks even more evil. If you are a pirate in the New World, you will definitely recognize that this is the main ship of the Bear Pirates in the Pirate Alliance, the Bear. At this moment, aboard the Barbarian Bear, Francis was sitting on a soft office chair with no one around him. Half of his body was hidden in the darkness. He was holding a normal phone bug and a white anti-tapping phone bug in his hands. Bulu. Hey, Francis. How's everything going? The drought location in Lousy has been reserved for you. The phone bug's appearance gradually changed into a strange look with two horns as the call was connected. Don't worry, things are going smoothly, Kaido-sama. Francis replied calmly. That's good. With a click, the phone was hung up directly. Francis was not angry and continued his hand movements, and the phone bug rang again. Brew, how about it? Sir, things are going very well. Thanks to that Marine Star, I can blend into the Beast's pirates after it's over. Very good, don't live up to the zone, bear fruit, and ancient seed we gave you. You can enter CP0 directly after the undercover operation is over. Don't be exposed. You know the result of failure. Yes. Bang. The sound of the phone hanging up sounded again. New World, G5 Base Port. A huge Marine-style warship docked at the port. There were about 1,000 Marine soldiers neatly arranged on the deck of the warship, headed by the smiling Rear Admiral. Atlas stood at the port and looked at Brother Jiaji, who was still as charming as ever, and said hello with a smile. Today, Atlas was arranged by the Crane Vice Admiral to come here to receive the combat forces specially sent by the headquarters. She originally had a share of Gion, but she heard that Cake was coming too, so she found an excuse and ran away. Atlas can be left to suffer here alone. Hey, Atlas, why don't you see Miss Gion? I'm planning to confess my 99th love to her. Jiaji was disappointed when he saw that Atlas was the only one at the port. Gion Rear Admiral has something to do temporarily, so I am the only one here. Atlas explained somewhat far-fetchedly. It is impossible to directly say that Gion found an excuse to run away to avoid you. By the way, didn't Crane Vice Admiral say that Aokiji Vice Admiral also came to New World to support him? Why didn't he see anyone? Atlas was a little confused. He and Cage had been talking for a while. What happened to Aokiji? Didn't you get off the warship? Aokiji Vice Admiral he. Just as Jiaji was about to explain, a lazy voice came from not far away from the port. Lala, I'm so sorry, Brother Kanos, for keeping you waiting for so long. Atlas followed the sound and saw Aokiji, wearing a marine justice cloak, a white suit, and a dark blue shirt, riding a bicycle slowly from the sea. A not-so-wide ice layer kept appearing under the bicycle's tires. As the tires rolled, Aokiji with half-draped eyelids kept yawning, as if he was about to fall asleep at any moment, and his whole person showed a lazy temperament. Aokiji Vice Admiral, Atlas stood in silence and gave a standard military salute. Aokiji casually put away his bicycle and handed it to the marine soldier on the side, waved to Atlas, and walked straight to Garp's office. Lala, Brother Kanos, let's go, the wind is going to blow. Wanokuni, the Island of Ghosts. Brother Kaido, should we Beast's pirates get involved in the upcoming war in New World and make New World even more chaotic? Fire Calamity. Jin is a burly man covered in black clothing, including his face. The huge wings on his back are constantly spitting out flames. There is a long knife hanging on his waist. The only thing exposed to the air is his eyes looked towards Kaido, who was taking a swig of wine. No need, we can just stay aside and watch the fire, but Laozi is going to stir up the trouble. Now only this kind of top-level battle can make me excited, ha 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 ha. After Kaido finished speaking, he drank all the wine in the wine gourd. The clear wine flowed along his beard and onto the ground. The dripping accompaniment echoed in the space, echoing Kaido's proud laughter. Aboard Moby Dick. Dad, Marine's actions have become more and more frequent recently. A large number of troops have been gathering in the New World. Are they prepared to attack us at all costs? Marco's eyebrows were a little worried, although he had no intention of doing so. He is afraid of Marine, and has no ambitions for the Pirate King. He just wants to live with his father like this forever, and it would be even better if he can make his father the Pirate King. Marco, don't worry so much. If Marine wants to clean up New World, the world government will be the first to disagree. Moreover, the other pirates in New World are not vegetarians. If Marine wants to chew this bone, he will probably damage it with his teeth, break to pieces. Beasta on the side analyzed that he was very clear about the urinal nature of the world government. It is impossible for the 5 elders to sit back and watch Marine continue to grow or its power to weaken significantly. There is only one thing they pursue: balance. The entire world is like a chess game to the 5 elders. As chess players, what they have to ensure is that the balance of the major forces is not broken, so that the rule of the world government is not threatened. Gu la la la, Marco, Beasta is right, don't worry too much, Laozi is, Whitebeard. New World, G5 Base, Staff Office. At this time, the small office gathered all the existing high-level officials of the G5 base. Of course, Atlas is among them. Although his military rank is only Commodore level, his strength has been recognized by everyone present, so he can be regarded as a high-level person. Suru Vice Admiral is still sitting upright behind the desk. Sitting on the reception chairs on the left and right sides are 2 alternate admirals, Main Vice Admiral, Akainu and Aokiji. Garp is standing next to Suru Vice Admiral. Chewing donuts, crumbs kept splattering from his mouth onto the desk. Okay, everyone is here, let me talk about the personnel distribution and arrangements for the next battle. Crane Vice Admiral looked around, his ears automatically blocked the sound of Garp chewing, and spoke slowly. Garp, Sakazuki, Cake, Gion, you guys will lead some Marines to stop the Whitebeard pirates, and you also need to be prepared to prevent Kaido from causing trouble on the battlefield. Your combat power should be enough. Kuzan, you and Atlas will lead some troops to the Toto Land Sea area. According to the information passed by the CP department, the Pirate Alliance's target is the Big Mom pirates. If the Big Mom side falls into defeat by then, if so, you will take the opportunity to destroy them and then attack the Pirate Alliance. Of course, there is a high probability that the Pirate Alliance will lose. The intelligence capabilities of the Toto Land waters cannot be underestimated. We will just defeat the so-called Pirate Alliance later. As for Kaido's Beast's pirates, they probably won't show up. Kaido also knows that Wanakuna's position is dangerous. We Marine can't go to the trouble of provoking them, so we don't need to allocate troops, but I will arrange for personnel to keep watch. Ah la la, Crane Vice Admiral, don't worry, not a single pirate in the Pirate Alliance can escape. Aokiji also put away his lazy expression and assured with confidence. In the New World at this moment, whether it is the Big Mom pirates or large and small pirate groups, they all smell an unusual smell. Behind the scenes, there are countless pirates gearing up to fight in this world that is about to overthrow. Take a piece of the World War. The wind of the new era is about to blow into the New World. See Circle Calendar January 1506, New World, Toto Land Sea area. The huge Queen Mother anthem was moored quietly on the sea. The entire hull swayed left and right with the ripples of the sea. The strangely shaped collision head emitted a gentle chant. It was surrounded by large and small pirate ships. Without exception, they all wore the iconic red lip-waving skull and crossbones flag. On board the Anthem, he had just given birth not long ago and successfully gave birth to his 75th son. He was not as weak as an ordinary woman. Instead, he kept earth coating the tablecloth and poured the desserts inside the tablecloth into his mouth. The servants on both sides quickly changed them. A table of new desserts, and the cycle repeats. Mom, Katsuyu sent a picture and discovered that the fleet of the Pirate Alliance has invaded our waters of all nations. It's still Parasparrow. In fact, he doesn't dare to disturb Big Mom while he's eating. After all, once the attack of Soraya occurs, the entire world will probably be destroyed. But this time the situation is too urgent. Parasparrow had no choice but to bite the bullet and report it. Huh? What did you say? Hearing Parasparrow's words, Big Mom immediately stopped eating. The big, crimson, Kazilon eyes were staring straight at Parasparrow, and his big mouth was grinning almost to the base of his ears. Dropping corrosive saliva, it seemed that Parasparrow was going to eat him alive without saying a word. Mom! Mom, the so-called Pirate Alliance has invaded the waters of Toto Land. It seems that they regard us as their target. Parasparrow swallowed hard and said cautiously, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead under Big Mom's gaze. Well, even those losers dared to take advantage of my Toto Land. They really underestimate me. Parasparrow, go and gather the fleet with Katakuri. I want to kill them personally. This is treating me as a soft persimmon. But, Mom, your body has just given birth. I'm afraid, Parasparrow said with some worry. Big Mom can be said to be the core of the pirate group. Without her, Parasparrow and the others would he's not really a pirate overlord at all. Huh? Are you teaching me how to do things? Parasparrow, you are just my son, know your place. Big Mom's expression collapsed, and the aura that had been suppressing him for many years suddenly came to his face. Parasparrow was so frightened that his back was almost wet, and he nodded in agreement. Outskirts of Toto Land Sea Area. 4 ships with unique characteristics sailed into this dreamy sea area. The various ferocious collisions were incompatible with the surrounding environment. The 4 pirate groups of the Pirate Alliance led their respective pirates into BIG. The territory of the Mom Pirates launched a challenge to the pirate overlord who dominates the New World without any warning. The captains of the 4 pirate groups looked excited and solemn, as if they were about to become the overlords of the New World, and even the throne of the Pirate King could be glimpsed. Well, you 4 idiots, do you think I'm a soft persimmon? It's really unpleasant. Before they could be happy for a long time, Big Mom, who came after hearing the news, stood at the bow of the Anthem, holding a giant sword named Napoleon in his hand, surrounded by the 2 homies, Zeus and Prometheus, respectively, in charge of thunder and fire. He. Old woman, the old era has passed. There is no ship that can carry you in the new era. It's time to get off the ship and make room for us young people. With a gloomy look on his face, Lakham took a decisive step forward and pushed back Big Mom's words without fear. Well, what a bunch of ungrateful guys. Katakuri, take this guy's head and bring him to see me. Yes, Mom. He. Your Mac, you and Francis can contain Big Mom, and Katakuri will be left to me. Lakham said with confidence. He is a user with Paramecia blood fruit ability. He can affect the blood in the enemy's body and accelerate his own blood flow to enhance combat effectiveness. He has already awakened the fruit's ability, and there is no way he can do it. Fear of Katakuri. Damn it. Your Mac and Francis cursed angrily in their hearts at the same time. They knew that Katakuri and Big Mom were not on the same level of strength, but they didn't expect that this guy Lakham would take the initiative and get rid of them. Together, they can only bite the bullet now. Well, you've actually been underestimated. When Big Mom heard Lakham's words, he immediately laughed angrily, and kept letting out strange laughter from his bloody mouth. An invisible sound wave suddenly started from Big Mom and spread towards the Pirate Alliance. Conqueror's Hockey. Time seemed to freeze in the entire sea area. The pirates who were still shouting suddenly became silent. Their eyes were empty and their mouths were half open and half closed. As if their souls had been extracted, they fell down and fell unconscious. Bah! Conqueror's Hockey. Oh my God! What kind of monster is this? Such a terrifying Conqueror's Hockey. We actually have to fight against such a monster. We are simply going to die. Captain, let's retreat. The Big Mom pirates are simply not something we can compete with. The person who barely managed to stay awake in front of Big Mom's conquerors suddenly felt like his legs were like chaff, and the hairs all over his body stood up, like a frightened cat, with no trace of courage. Why are you panicking? She's just an old woman, just a conqueror's. Several captains shouted to calm down the flustered people. In fact, they were a little worried. Although the four of them except Francis all had conquerors, compared to Big Mom's conquerors, their conquerors were like candles in the wind. Cannot be compared with it at all. Everyone. Attack everyone. Blood sickle. Lakham couldn't sit still anymore and decisively activated his fruit power to meet Katakuri. The other three also found their corresponding opponents to fight. He knew that if the battle didn't start, their side would be completely defeated. Well, Zeus. Thunder. Yes. Mom. The expression of Zeus floating in midair suddenly became ferocious. His whole body was dark, and a giant thunder pillar landed without warning, like a terrifying power, like a natural disaster. Yunyan Thundercloud. Yermak is a user with Logia Yunyan fruit ability and is not afraid of Zeus' attack. In fact, they also know that Lakham is not simply trying to trap the two of them. As the biggest boss present, they all know the three major homies owned by Charlotte Linlin. Yermak's Yunyan fruit first destroyed Big Mom's Zeus, and Francis is an Esper in the form of Zone, Bear Fruit, Ancient Species, and Brutal Bear. The fruit's ability is close to the awakened state. It can be said that the ability to withstand beatings is indispensable. People are better than others, so the two of them are the best choice to be responsible for entangling Big Mom. When Aokiji and Atlas arrived at Todo Land, the Big Mom pirates were already fighting with the Pirate Alliance. The entire sea area of Todo Land is filled with the sounds of gunfire and fighting, and the sea is dyed red under the smoke. But looking at the overall situation, the Pirate Alliance is basically suppressed by the Big Mom pirates. Big Mom alone is difficult for them to resist, even the Big Mom that has just been produced. And Yermak and Francis, who were dealing with Big Mom, were secretly complaining. They didn't have much power to resist Big Mom. Her terrifying body talent of steel balloon made them unable to resist. She was helpless, not to mention that the two homits in her hands gave her a wide range of AoE skills. What a crazy woman. Yermak complained crazily in his heart. Big Mom didn't care about their own battle situation at all. They just released the Thunder Flames crazily, which not only caused the Pirate Alliance to lose a lot of manpower, but also affected her own side. Big Mom didn't care at all. Anyway, to her, these so-called soldiers were just homits that could be made at random. What's more, she didn't care about human life in the first place. Ah la la, it seems I came at the wrong time. Just when the two sides were fighting in full swing, Aokiji's warship suddenly broke into their battle zone. Well, you can continue. I won't disturb you. Aokiji stood on the deck with his arms folded, looking at the stunned people and smiling awkwardly. Well, Marine is here too. It's really interesting, little bugs. Just accept my fist obediently. Thunder and fire crit. Big Mom was completely stunned and was not willing to give up at all. Without even looking at Aokiji, who had a solemn face, his fists were wrapped with thunder and fire, and his seemingly fat body actually dodged very quickly in front of Yermak and Francis. Boom! The terrifying power of thunder and fire was unleashed on the two of them, and Yermak barely had time to elementalize. No, to be precise, elementalization was useless because the scope of Big Mom's move was too wide. Can't avoid it. Just one blow almost killed both of them, but Francis was not seriously injured due to the rough skin and thick flesh of the ancient zone species and the terrifying resilience. Ice Age. Aokiji on the side quickly judged the form, activated the fruit ability in his hand, and slowly exhaled a breath of cold air from his mouth. A large area of the sea and the pirates on the sea turned into solid ice sculptures. Of course Aokiji would not be on the side as he said. Looking at it, the pirates on both sides of the field have been almost exhausted and the hunting time has arrived. Hey, Marine. This is our war. Do you want to die? Big Mom, who was having a great time, was very unhappy when he saw Aokiji's actions. He stared at the indifferent Aokiji with his selective eyes, and kept making weird smiles from his mouth. Ah la la, I'm so sorry, lady, this is my justice. Ice knife. A slender ice blade instantly appeared in Aokiji's hand, and then he threw it viciously at Big Mom's face. Chance. Yermak and Francis looked at each other and left the battlefield in unison. Most of the pirates they brought have been lost here. They really misjudged the strength of Big Mom. The Blood Scythe is currently being beaten by Katakuri, and it is estimated that he will fall soon, defeated. As for Klaus, He is being besieged by several of Big Mom's children. Although he has the upper hand, it is obviously impossible to escape. They were already thinking about quitting when they saw that Aokiji actually took the initiative to resist the pressure from Big Mom. If they didn't leave, they would probably stay in the waters of Toto Land forever. Ah la la, it looks like our Marines are going to take over the battlefield. Aokiji glanced at Yermak and Francis, who were fleeing, but did not stop them. Iceball, sorry, pirates are prohibited here. Atlas led a medium-sized marine-style warship to intercept the waters around Toto Land, and with his vast knowledge, he easily found the two people who had escaped. Marine? Commodore? Yermak looked at Atlas with contempt. Although they fled in embarrassment during the war in the New World, they were not something that a small marine commodore could manipulate at will. Francis on the side also frowned. He was very annoyed by Marine's deployment. He actually sent a marine commodore to participate in a war of this level. Originally, he wanted to find an opportunity to sneak attack Yermak. The appearance of this marine was simply just causing trouble. But he, Francis, was not the kind of soft-hearted person, and the marine in front of him could only wish for happiness. Flying finger pistol explosion. Atlas didn't care what the two pirates in front of him were thinking, and directly shot Yermak with a blast of flames. Boom! The blasting ray passed through Yermak's body and hit the sea in the distance, causing a huge splash in an instant. Yermak deactivated the elementalization with a gloomy look, and his brows were no longer as relaxed as before. Although he had avoided the blasting flames through elementalization, he could clearly feel the huge power, and at the same time he understood what he was seeing. This marine is no ordinary thing. It's really interesting, Francis. It looks like we have to work together again. What are you doing? A sick smile appeared on Yermak's face, and he was about to invite Francis to join him in killing the marine in front of him, but what shocked him was that this guy walked towards Marine without any defense. What surprised him even more was that the marine didn't stop him at all and just ignored Francis. Hey, didn't we say that pirates are prohibited from traveling? Are you blind? Didn't you see such a big living person in front of you? Mad, that Francis is an undercover agent. Seeing such an abnormal Francis, and then thinking about the role this guy played in promoting this war, Yermak, who gradually calmed down, finally woke up. Kid, it seems like this is all your Marine's plan? Ha 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 ha, Sengoku is truly worthy of the name the resourceful general. Yermak looked a little annoyed, but at the same time he was helpless, and he kept letting out low laughter. He felt like a mouse being played by a cat, and an ugly smile suddenly appeared on his face. I'm sorry, Mr. Yermak, there is a bounty of 700 million Baileys on the sea. Garbage, you know too much, so I can only ask you to die. Atlas looked at the pirate dressed as a sick gentleman in front of him and said without any emotion in his eyes. You must know that the current bounty is not as high as it was after Luffy went overseas more than 10 years ago. More than 10 years later, it was purely the result of Bailey's depreciation and inflation. Therefore, Yermak's reward of 700 million belly is still very valuable, and his strength should not be underestimated. HMPH ha ha ha. What a bratty brat. Although Yermak has just seen the tip of the Atlas iceberg, his pride as a great pirate will not allow him to surrender without a fight. Thundercloud descends. Yermak laughed ferociously, and a large number of dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky, and thunder that flashed from time to time was slowly brewing among them. Suddenly, a thunder beam descended from the sky and hit Atlas' head directly. Boom! The huge amount of thunder power instantly overwhelmed Atlas. However, Yermak did not show a look of surprise on his face. He knew very well that the man in front of him could not die under such an attack. Huh? It's so comfortable. I haven't felt this good for a long time. The thunder dissipated and Atlas stood intact, his body completely wrapped in the rich armament haki, but the clothes on his upper body had been reduced to ashes under the terrifying heat, revealing his armor-like muscles. Atlas twisted his neck slightly, and his strong bones suddenly crackled. What surprised him was that under the baptism of thunder just now, his body actually made some progress, even if it was so small that it could be ignored. It's my turn. Atlas flexed his muscles and activated the explosive force under his feet. The sea surface that was hit suddenly sank, and he arrived in front of Yermak at a terrifying speed almost in the blink of an eye. Iron body arm shatter. The arm suddenly swelled, A terrifying sense of power came to him, and the skin in contact with the air directly ignited fierce burning sparks. Cloud shield armed. Almost at the same moment, a huge cloud wall painted with armed colors erected in front of Yermak. Dwang. It's a very strange touch, with a bit of softness in the hardness, but not the crispness of gold and iron like the collision of armed colors. It feels like the strong flexibility has almost neutralized a third of Atlas's strength, and the rest it was carried down by the armed forces. Haha. I am a cloud man who ate the Logia Yun Yun fruit. My cloud shield is both the softness of cloud and the hardness of armament color. It is impossible for you to break it. Yermak said with a somewhat proud smile. In his opinion, although the Marine in front of him was a little troublesome, it was just a little troublesome and not an invincible opponent. So he immediately carried forward the fine traditions of the pirate world and excitedly explained his abilities and moves. Yeah, Atlas was non-committal, but he suddenly put more force on his hand, and at the same time activated the explosive power of the dragon talisman, and fierce flames were produced on his fist. Boom. Phew. It feels good. Atlas looked at Yermak flying backwards and let out a long breath. Yermak, who was in the distance, forced himself to stand still, looked at the tattered gentleman's uniform, and couldn't help but feel an unknown fire in his heart. Hey, you've completely pissed off lousy, Marine. As soon as he finished speaking, thick clouds and mist suddenly arose on the sea. The thick clouds were like a white continent, lifting Yermak's body high, and then slowly lifted into the sky. At the same time, a large number of clouds and mist began to try to wrap around Atla. Sri Lanka. Atlas felt like a pair of huge palms were holding his body, and the grip was getting tighter and tighter as time passed. Boom. The explosive flames burst out, instantly blowing out a huge hole in the clouds that bound Atlas, but under the control of the Yermak fruit ability, it was quickly replenished almost at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing this, Atlas stepped on Moonwalk and used Razor to quickly get rid of the entanglement of the clouds and mist. Flying finger pistol explosion Gatling. A fierce look flashed in Atlas's eyes, and his index finger unleashed a large amount of artillery fire, carrying armed explosive bullets and hitting Yermak intensively. Yermak was also unambiguous. His arms were quickly wrapped in a large amount of clouds, the color of his weapons hardened, and his two huge black fists violently collided with the bursting flames. Bang bang bang. Continuous explosions sounded, and a white airwave exploded rapidly with Yermak as the center. Atlas took advantage of the momentum and dodged into the air mass. At the same time, the shape of his body changed drastically. The body quickly shrunk to a height of 2 meters. The armed color on his body became darker and darker. Dazzling patterns were outlined on the chest and back, and 2 tear marks appeared on his chest. The corners of his eyes spread to his neck. Life Return Arm Paper Arts Martial Body. Unlike the Valkyrie body, the Paper Arts armament body can make Atlas's reactions faster and more sensitive. The Valkyrie body brings Atlas the power of a giant, which perfectly fits the power of the Ox Talisman, of divine power. Fran Dance Snake. As early as Atlas rushed up, Yermak's sight and color had already captured Atlas' figure, so he took the lead in launching the attack. A large number of giant pythons composed of clouds and mist came in, and the snake body was vaguely covered with a layer of armed color, obviously trying to trick Atlas. I really think that Lousy's knowledge and appearance are just decoration. Atlas's eyes narrowed slightly, 2 rich red lights overflowed from his eyes, and the powerful color of knowledge was turned to ultimate. With the blessing of Paper Arts' martial body, Atlas avoided all the cloud pythons with almost perfect posture. Since the last battle with Katakuri, although the breadth of his knowledge has not improved, the fineness of his perception has improved a lot. Explosion Tomahawk. Almost instantly, Atlas crossed the clouds and mist, hovering condescendingly over Yermak's head, and then raised his right leg high, his body like a drawn bow, carrying the blasting flames fiercely. Strike hard. Boom. Even though Yermak built a cloud wall in an instant, he was still shot down from the air by this terrifying force. Pung. A dull crash sounded, and Yermak did not fall into the embrace of the sea. This was thanks to the layer of clouds he had created with his fruit ability to restrain Atlas. I won't give you a chance next time. Xingyun. Atlas would not give Yermak the slightest chance to breathe. His body quickly grew in size, and the lines on his face curled up and converged on his forehead. The muscles on his back were clearly defined and eventually formed a grimace, and the steaming heat continued. Emit from the body. The embarrassed Yermak slowly climbed up from the thick clouds. Suddenly, a black object falling at high speed broke into his range of perception, before he could take a closer look. Boom! The huge acceleration directly punched a hole in the clouds, and water waves tens of meters high splashed up, hitting Yermak hard on the side. Dodged. But Yermak was not surprised at all. Instead, there was cold sweat on his forehead. Although he was not completely hit by Atlas, his left arm was crippled. Yermak could clearly feel that his left arm had been shattered and he had completely lost his ability to fight. Isn't this guy a capable person? Yermak was a little surprised. Apparently Atlas's explosive ability also made him mistakenly think that Atlas was a fruit user. But looking at the current situation, it was obvious that he had misjudged it. At this moment, Atlas, who was lurking at the bottom of the sea, was extremely certain that his attack had definitely caused some damage to Yermak. Bang! A huge water splash bloomed, and Atlas was like a rapidly moving tiger-headed shark, aiming straight at the place where Yermak stood with its armored and hardened head. Cloud shield armed. Yermak did not expect that the opponent's attacks would be so fast and violent, one after another, almost leaving him without any chance to breathe. The strong sense of crisis made him open his military-colored cloud shield almost instantly. Boom! Violent collisions exploded around him. This time Yermak was not completely protected. The powerful blasting flames accompanied by the stabbing of his head hit his body unabated. The scattered air waves and storm almost knocked the surrounding clouds into irregular debris, slowly floating on the rolling sea. Yermak stood on top of a larger piece of the wreckage, and at the same time, the ominous premonition in his heart became stronger. After a short confrontation, he discovered that he was no match for the Marine in front of him. Although he has been consumed by Big Mom. Cloud and Mist Domain. When Atlas stood still, his sight was instantly blocked by the diffuse clouds and fog. It was a bit like Smoker's smoke fruit, but the two were almost different substances. Smoker's smoke fruit was small solid particles, while Yermak's clouds were water vapor and small ice crystals, which means it has an effect similar to refrigeration. Sure enough, just as Atlas was thinking, the surrounding temperature had already begun to drop, but this was far worse than Aokiji's frozen fruit. Huh? Want to escape? Yermak is not the kind of pirate who will fight to the death if he cannot be beaten. Running away when the situation is bad is the normal life of pirates like him. Cruelty, cunning, and greed. These characteristics that a pirate should have are perfectly reflected in Yermak. Atlas had already locked onto the opponent's position after seeing it. His leg muscles exerted force, and his figure almost turned into an afterimage, and he quickly attacked Yermak. Yermak naturally noticed Atlas's movements, and his heart tightened. The fruit ability was activated, and a large amount of clouds and mist began to solidify. The armed color moved accordingly, and he threw it in the direction of Atlas. Cloud shield, arms, gun. The sharp tip of the gun shone with black luster, and the terrifying sharpness made Atlas's cheek hurt. How many armed colors does this guy have? Atlas smacked his tongue a little, but his advancing figure did not stop at all. Don't forget, Laozi is still a swordsman. Atlas smoothly pulled out the third-generation Kitetsu from his waist, swelled his arms and slashed forward. Ito Ryu armed Reikari. The blood-red slashes wrapped around the black-red armament haki were more powerful than before. This was something Atlas had not yet realized for a long time. With the in-depth training of armament haki, he became more comfortable with the application of armament haki. Now, I can already try to entangle the slash. The powerful cutting ability cleared the obstacles for Atlas almost instantly. Yermak, who noticed the movement behind him, panicked, and his hands and feet stiffened for a moment. Almost at the same time, Atlas's pupils trembled, and a strong aura burst out from his body, like a forest king with teeth and claws, rushing straight towards Yermak. This is Overlord, Lust. Yermak's expression flashed into a trance, and the back of his head felt like being hit by a huge hammer. A strong sense of dizziness surged up, and his body froze for a moment. Very good. Atlas seized this opportunity and quickly appeared behind Yermak. Before the other party could turn around, The dazzling blade of third-generation Ghost flashed past, and blood splashed everywhere, and a face was the shocked head fell into the sea with a thud. Yermak, the owl eater. Hey, it's so fancy. Atlas sneered, and the tip of the knife slowly lifted Yermak's head out of the water. When the surrounding clouds and fog dissipated, a huge warship in the distance quickly sailed towards Atlas. After all, Yermak's fruit had not yet awakened, although Atlas felt that it was on the verge of awakening. But still does not have the ability to permanently change the environment. Atlas Commodore. Mission accomplished, please return. Soon, the warship led by Aokiji reunited with Atlas, and an adjutant like Marine walked out of the ship and reported to Atlas. Okay. Let's go over there and join my warship first. During the battle, I asked them to move a distance away. Atlas nodded, then glanced around and frowned. Where's Aokiji Vice Admiral? Why didn't he come back? Atlas will not think that Aokiji died in the hands of Big Mom or escaped. Although Aokiji has not reached his peak, he definitely has the strength of Admiral now, but the world government does not know why it has not held the award ceremony for so long. Let Sengoku officially take over Marine. As an older generation Marine, Sengoku, as long as he is not promoted to Marshal for a day, it is impossible for the three-monster Vice Admiral to officially become an Admiral. This is my speculation, and it is basically in line with common sense, because I don't know if they were promoted to Admiral at the same time or if there is a time difference, please forgive me. Aokiji Vice Admiral is behind Tobias' time to retreat, he should be here soon. Okay, I understand. New world, an unknown sea area. The roar of artillery fire was endless, and the two distinct fleets faced each other here. Gyula Lala, are you here to cause trouble for Lousy again? Don't you Marine dislike the number of dead soldiers? Garp. Whitebeard's captain's cloak rustled in the sea breeze. Holding Kong Yunki's body, he was extremely tall and his eyes were full of confidence. Ha 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 ha, Newgate, you should worry about yourself first. Maybe your head will be left here today, and then I will have to say sorry to that brat Atlas. Garp rubbed his rough fist as he spoke, his face full of excitement, and an emotion called warlike rising from his body. Gyula Lala. Let's see if you have that ability, Garp. As soon as he finished speaking, Whitebeard stood upright, raised his left hand high and bent it at 90 degrees, and a white ball appeared on his fist. Air shock. The entire space was like a mirror, filled with cracks in an instant. Powerful power was transmitted to the sea surface, and the whole world seemed to be shaking. Almost at the same moment, Garp also jumped up high, his weapons moved accordingly, and his fists were covered in an instant. Fistbone meteor. Boom. The moment the ultimate collided, a huge storm was created. What shocked the surrounding Marines and pirates was that the sky split. Is this a duel between top experts? It's so powerful? Ha 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 ha. As expected of Father Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world is not just a boast. Mr. Garp is really powerful, he is worthy of being a legendary sailor. Marine and the pirates immediately exploded, and this sky-shattering duel gave them an unparalleled visual impact. Gur la la la. Stop the boring temptation here, war is not a game played by pirates and Marines, Garp. Whitebeard raised Kong Yunki, pointed the bright tip of the knife at Marine's side, the terrifying conquerors was released, and the war officially started. Not far from the sea area of Toto Land, two Marine-style warships, one large and one small, sailed quickly on the sea. On the deck of the larger warship lay a tall man with a lazy look, a green eye patch covering his eyes, and no parasol, letting the sun shine, on a white suit. Aokiji Vice Admiral, shall we go directly to Vice Admiral Garp for support later? On the medium-sized warship next to him, Atlas squatted on the side of the ship and looked at Aokiji, who was about to fall asleep. Ah lala, it depends on the situation. By the time we get there, the war will probably be over. Aokiji slowly lifted the corner of his eye mask, glanced at Atlas from the corner of his eye, and answered weakly. This operation went quite smoothly. Our battle results should be good, hee. Ah lala. It's okay. The most powerful pirate groups in the New World now are only Big Mom, 100 Beasts and Whitebeard. The 100 Beasts' power is the most intact, but its scope is only limited to Wano Kuni. The Whitebeard pirates, the group is still the strongest, but as for Big Mom, The losses are quite serious, just a lot of the children who have not yet grown up have died.
Ha 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 ha. How could such a top-notch battle not include Lousy?
In the sea area where Marine and the Whitebeard pirates were fighting, with a burst of laughter, a huge blue dragon fell from the sky, and instantly intervened in the battle between Garp and Whitebeard. Kaido of the Beasts. Blue dragon form. Garp and Whitebeard were separated to the edge due to Kaido's intervention. The two looked at each other. One punched and the other raised a knife to chop. Ouch. In an instant, two wounds that broke through the dragon scales appeared on Kaido's huge blue dragon body. Kaido felt a burst of pain and howled in pain, but the wounds recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Garp and Whitebeard didn't bother to care about Kaido's troublesome stick, and they started fighting with knives and fists. You two guys really excite Lousy. Kaido quickly transformed into a dragon-like form. His body was too big. Although his strength and methods were greatly enhanced, his flexibility was still much worse than that in the dragon-like form. Hey, Kaido is such a troublemaker, he will join in wherever there is excitement. Marco, who was struggling with Akainu, saw Kaido entering and complained with some contempt. In Marco's opinion, which one of Garp and Whitebeard present could not beat Kaido to pieces? In other words, Kaido is a rough-skinned guy. Boom. Just when Marco was distracted, a giant lava fist struck him hard, and instantly a blood hole appeared on Marco's chest with a burning aura. Do you dare to be distracted while fighting me, captain of the 1st Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, Marco? Hey, Beasta, won't you help me keep an eye on it? Marco looked at the bloody hole on his chest and said somewhat depressedly. At the same time, the flames of regeneration surged rapidly, and the flesh and blood on the chest quickly sprouted, leaving only a shallow mark in just a moment. I'm not as thick-skinned as you. I won't feel comfortable if you get hit like that. Beasta replied seriously while waving the knife in his hand. Even though the place where Garp, Whitebeard, and Kaido fought was a little far away from the sea, the airwaves generated by the occasional collision between the three always set off waves of strong winds and tsunamis, and the terrifying sonic booms were almost deafening to the Marines and pirates who were slightly closer. When Atlas and Aokiji arrived to support, they saw Chong Wei beating Lifu. Oh no, it was Whitebeard and Garp hammering Kaido.
At this time, Whitebeard also understood a little bit.
Although Marine has deployed most of its troops here, it is obvious that the real target is not them. And with Kaido disrupting the situation, Whitebeard, who was originally at a slight disadvantage, the pirate group breathed another sigh of relief. There was no way this guy Kaido would spray hot breath everywhere from time to time, which made the pirates and Marines who were still fighting were so worried that they didn't dare to use their full strength in the battle, and they had to keep an eye out for sudden sparks. Frozen time capsule. As soon as Aokiji arrived, he directly joined the battlefield. The strong cold air spread quickly. The pirates who could have fought back and forth were collapsed under Aokiji's pressure. Gyula Lala, belonged to the Whitebeard pirates, start to retreat. Seeing this, Whitebeard shouted loudly, and at the same time, his left hand formed into a claw shape and tore into the air. The thick cracks spread from the air to the sea. With the retreat of the Whitebeard pirates as the boundary, the sea was divided into two halves. Ha 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 ha, what a mess, Whitebeard. Garp also stopped when he saw this, knowing that Whitebeard couldn't stop him if he wanted to leave, and Marine's purpose this time was not to completely destroy the Whitebeard pirates. Hey, aren't you going to fight? Lousy hasn't had enough yet? Kaido was a little dissatisfied at this time, but the rushed Aokiji and the freed Akainu combined with Garp to beat him up severely, and then he was satisfied, and ran away staggering on the fire cloud with a big bag on his head. In the morning a few days after the melee ended, flocks of newsbirds were busy flying around the world, and a piece of news that shocked the world spread across the sea. Marine cleared the New World, the pirate alliance was completely disintegrated, and new overlords appeared on the sea after the death of the Pirate King. The World Economic News called them the Three Emperors of the Sea. All nations, Cake Island. Well, 3 sea emperors? I want to become the Pirate King. Big Mom was rarely eating. Instead, she was holding a newspaper in her hand. Her expression was a bit strange, and she didn't know whether she was happy or angry. Mom, in addition to the death of several younger brothers and sisters in the family such as Saint Mark, Tabret, Haifat, and Moscato, Monder and Smoji were seriously injured, and a large number of other battle homies were lost. Perispero stood aside and told the statistics carefully. Trash. They are all a bunch of trash. Big Mom is very angry now. She spent many years giving birth to these children one after another. They had great potential, but she did not expect that they would die before they could grow up. Katakori's face on the side was even more ugly. He was originally in a bad mood when he heard the news of his younger brother and sister's death, but he became even more upset after hearing Big Mom's comments. He clearly saw that Saint Mark was dead. In the aftermath of the battle at Big Mom. Well, what a great gesture, Marine. How about the force damage of Whitebeard and Beast's pirates? According to our intelligence, the forces of the 100 Beasts are the most intact. Only Kaido himself participated in this melee, while the Whitebeard pirates suffered greater damage. Several of his pirate groups who followed him were destroyed, but the force has not been damaged much. Also, Perispero carefully glanced at the change in Big Mom's face and continued, of the pirate alliance that invaded the waters of Totoland, Klaus and Lackham were captured by us, and Yermak was captured by us. Marine was shot dead on the spot, and only Francis escaped alone. Big Mom was furious, and a demon-like aura burst out from her body. Well, I must want this guy's head. Mom, Francis has surrendered to Kaido of the Beasts, and is now one of the 3 major signs of the Beasts' pirates. Drought. Perispero reminded slowly. Kaido? Has this guy forgotten his kindness? Aboard Moby Dick? Dad, it seems that Marine's real target is not us at all. It is a scene played by Marine from beginning to end. They divided the battlefield into 2 parts. The main target is actually the Pirate Alliance, which just happens to hit our Whitebeard the Pirates, the Beasts, and the Big Mom Pirates. Marco drooped his eyelids, leaned on the side of the boat and said coldly. Gu la la la, that Linlin guy should be very angry now. After all, the target of the Pirate Alliance is her. Whitebeard laughed loudly. Although he and Big Mom once stayed on a ship together, the relationship between them was not very good. He knew that if Whitebeard was killed by Marine, Big Mom would be happy to bite him. One mouthful. Whitebeard knows very well that Big Mom has long coveted the Fishmen Island, which he shelters. But this should be a good thing. Now the situation on the sea has reached the balance that the world government guys want. At least for a while, Marine will not take any big actions. Furthermore, Dad, you are now recognized by the whole world as the Emperor of the Sea. Gu la la la. It doesn't matter what the Emperor of the Sea is, the important thing is you. Whitebeard picked up the glass filled with wine, pointed it at his throat, raised his head and drank. Wano-Kuni, Island of Ghosts. Brother Kaido, this is the new newspaper that came out today. Morgans from the World Economic News even came over to pay a visit, but you, the boss, drank too much at the time, so you didn't see him. Jin was still dressed in black, with his whole body wrapped tightly. Emperor of the Sea? Ha 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 ha. But Laozi's ambitions don't stop there. Kaido took the newspaper, glanced at it casually, and then started crying and laughing nervously. By the way, how are the Wano-Kuni warriors who followed Oden suppressed? Most of them were imprisoned and sent to Rabbit Bowl to excavate seastone. But Master Yamato's side. Yamato. What's going on with that son of mine? Speaking of Yamato, Kaido couldn't help but have a headache. As Kaido's son, no, I should say daughter, except for shouting every day that he wants to be the Kozuki Oden, and that he wants to expel his father, he can accept other problems. Originally, Yamato couldn't help but admire Oden after watching Oden's death when he was 8 years old. However, since picking up Oden's logbook, his Odenization has become more serious. It would be fine if Yamato was a loser, but this guy awakened Conqueror's Haki at the age of 8, and also accidentally ate a Phantom Beast fruit some time ago. As a Phantom Beast ability user, he naturally knows about the Phantom Beast. Powerful place. Originally, according to Kaido's idea, he wanted to make his unfilial son serve as Wano-Kuni's general and take charge of Wano-Kuni for him, but now what this guy thinks about every day is probably to drive him out of Wano-Kuni's invader. Master Yamato, she tried to sneak out again while you were away, but was discovered by the Emperor, and is now imprisoned in Onigashima prison. What a bastard. Let this guy stay in jail and reflect for a while. By the way, Replace the sea stone handcuffs on her hands with ones with a higher concentration. Yes, North Blue, Don Quixote family station. Bah, 3 sea emperors. The sea is really getting more and more lively. The man wearing a pink feather coat and sunglasses lay on a wicker chair, stretched out his big bronze hand, and shook the sun in the sky, as if he wanted to extinguish the light of the entire world in his hand. You say so, Rocinante, my dear brother, blah blah blah. The man with pink feathers turned to look at the man with a clown face next to him and asked, his eyebrows full of unruliness and ambition.